Hi, what am I holding in my hand? What could that be? What is that strange looking dried thing? Well, darling, it's magic mushrooms. Yes, it is. Here we are. My it just fell off the cap. Look. Oh my God. This one is wavy caps. I've got 3 kinds here. I'm going to teach you today about how to microdose mushrooms. Who knew a day would come when a health practitioner would be able to teach and sell psilocybin? I'm still kind of amazed at it all. I really am. And I don't know. I'm in shock a little bit, to be honest. But I'm excited, and I have been taking my microdoses very diligently and scientifically and very specifically to see how I do on them. Not that I'm shy to this type of medicine, if you know what I mean. I've had many an experience with the red cap variety, the Amanita, as we know. I really guess I only, I know there's lots of different mushrooms around, but I didn't know there were so many types of mushrooms that have psilocybin in them. So that was pretty shocking for me to find out. So I have multitudes of varieties of kinds. I'm going to go through some of the benefits of microdosing and what it's used for, and different methods, how to use it, and what the stack protocol is. And I do sell this on my website. I don't have the raw mushrooms yet for sale, but I will soon. What I have to do with those is I need to measure them out. I'm probably going to sell them per half gram, because really doing a half gram to a gram is as much as you want to do really in a setting anyway. And that's going to produce, if you do mushroom tea or eat them, you're going to have a mushroom experience that is something where you want to do it in the safety of a great space with somebody who's not dosing with you, so you can be safe and have a hallucinogenic experience that way. But really, the goal is not just for giggles and fun. The goal is to open up the consciousness and to help you process things like post-traumatic stress disorder, deal with depression, deal with high levels of anxiety, reset the brain in a fashion where you can come through the experience in a calm manner and heal the brain. Really, that is what this does. It's a brain recovery. It's a type of reconstitution of the cells of the brain, and specifically the hippocampus. And I meant to pull up the hippocampus so I could show you hippocampus, where it is and what they are. We'll do this one, the hippocampus and amygdala differences. I'll show you those. I'm also going to have this video on Zoom with my links that I'm showing. So to YouTube, I'm filming on Zoom as well as on Facebook Live. So what I'll do is I'll take that and I'll put it on YouTube and other places as well, because you can't just rely on YouTube much anymore, can you now? So this looks like a good one. PTSD, the hippocampus and amygdala, how trauma changes the brain. So that's relatable. But really, for memory purposes, when you have a lot of stress, you actually lose a lot of digestive capabilities, because all your blood is in your organs to fight or flight or flee. And you can lose the amount of serotonin you're making, because your gut makes that. You can cause all kinds of disability in the gut and therefore affect the brain. You can also have lots of inflammation in the blood, and then of course the blood is thick and viscous, and it's not going to get into the ends of the finer vessels, which means your nervous system and the brain isn't going to get fed with proper amounts of blood. And then that's going to produce memory deficiencies and other, lags in memory, names, remembering people's names, these kinds of things. And the hippocampus is responsible for a lot of these memories. And also our brain ages. And this is something to help you stop the brain from aging, is to use psilocybin and other mushrooms, specifically in conjunction with the psilocybin, to really help the actual cells, the cellular structure of the brain, rehabilitate. That's really what it does. And I mean, I'm still learning about this myself, because, not that I'm unaware of, the benefits of certain psychedelics like LSD and not just psilocybin. There's a lot of different psychedelic experiences that you can have with ayahuasca. There's lots, and I think it's important to find what works for you and work with that, especially in this day and age. I mean, we've really got a lot of stress issues going on in this day and age. And I think it's the time for it. I'm glad it was legalized in Canada. It's going through its legalization process in most of the states right now. I think California, Oregon, there's a couple others that are going through it. So a lot of companies won't sell to the states just yet, but I am, and really it's kind of your own risk, because if it's confiscated, then it's confiscated. But I think because it's going through legalization, there's kind of a bit of a, like when cannabis was going through legalization, there's a little bit of a relaxed sense about allowing it through. So I think this is really timely in so many ways. I'd intended to do this video way earlier because I have a store in Minden, Canada, and it was really slow. It was a slow day, and I was kind of happy for having a slow day, because sometimes I would like to not yap all day long. But then it just started happening right when I set up to do the video, of just people kept coming in. So I just finally finished, had some dinner, and I'm going to try to keep this a bit shorter because, I need some kind of rest myself. I took my microdose mushroom today, so that's this product here. I'll show this camera too. Microdosing mushrooms. They have different sizes, so there's 15, 25, or 50 caps. You can see that on my website, which is yummymummyemporium.org. So what the microdosing mushrooms do, it increases your flow state. So a flow state is when you really get into a task. So you're in a flow and you aren't being interrupted and pushed and pulled away from all these kinds of, interruptions. You're really focused on a task for the long run, and you're engaged in the task, and you can really get high productivity when you're in a flow state rather than being in a distracted state. And that personally has been a challenge for me since having a child, because basically when you're a single mom and you run a business and you're basically constantly distracted. And I think that's been the biggest challenge for my own mind, and all of the things that I learn and research and have to remember, and customers and all of the products and all of these little things. It does take a toll on one's ability to remember, one's ability to really concentrate. Like, I wrote a book with a child, interrupting me every 2 seconds, or constantly singing all day, because she loves to sing all day, right? And if you're trying to do this, sometimes you feel like you're a bit of a ping pong, And anyway, I've just started taking it. This is my day 1, 2, 3, 4. This is my 4th dose, skipping a day. So I've done 1 dose each day for 3 days. I took 1 day break, and now this is my 1st day. Sorry, no, I'm incorrect. This is my 2nd day back on from the break. So this is my 5th dose. 1, 2, 3, break, 4, 5. I decided to do break because it felt right for me to do a break at that time. That's why I decided to do 1, 2, 3, stop, and now I'm going to do 3 and a break and 3 and a break for a bit. and see how I feel, because that's what felt intuitively right to me. Now, I will talk about other dosing strategies later, but for now, I like that. Reduced anxiety and mood elevation. I definitely noticed the anxiety bar went down quite a few notches, where I felt like I could handle taking on more tasks, where I was getting into that burnout phase where I just couldn't deal. Like, that's too many, that's too many emails, that's too many whatever messages. I just have to, I have my limit or my quota for the day, and then that's it. Like, nobody gets any more of me. I'm done, right? And I felt that it allowed me to do more without feeling anxious about it. Meaning, when I feel anxious, and everybody probably has different ways of feeling anxiety, but when I feel anxious, what happens to me is all of the tasks that I feel I have to do become very present before me, and I can't really choose which one is the most efficacious for me to begin. And I feel overwhelmed by the many directions I could possibly go with my time in that moment. And then I feel that gets me into an anxiety state. It's really like an overwhelmed state, that I have too many options of what I need to accomplish on my task list. And then I'd rather just do none of it because it blasts my ability to rationalize, because that means you're in your emotional state and you're reading things through an emotional filter, rather than just calmly sitting for a second and saying, well, it would make most sense if I just accomplish this task and I'll leave the rest of my. You don't really, when you're in an anxiety state, you're not going to have a rational discussion with yourself. It's going to be emotional, right? So when you're in an emotional state, you're not really thinking, right? So that means you have to take yourself out of an emotional state in order to flow through that again. So the mushrooms help with anxiety and with mood. Definitely, I felt a little more pleasant. I think it's just it was a general, I've only done 5 doses, but a little more pleasant. Just a little more tolerant, which I think we can all deal with. And then increased memory and learning capabilities. What's interesting is the memory and how it is affecting my memory is I'm remembering things from quite some time ago that I hadn't really thought of for a while, which I found interesting. Just older thoughts, or just it seemed kind of almost random to me, things that I'm remembering, and that was interesting, an interesting effect of so far. And also, I think the memory part ties into the reduction of anxiety, because again, like in my picture of my life, I have so many fingers and so many pies that I feel stress if I feel like I've forgotten one of those things, and my mind's continually trying to find the thing that I forgot to do that was important. And last week I did forget something that I needed to do, and then I was stressed afterwards because again, I got overwhelmed, so my mind just goes, I can't, so I'll let it go. And this definitely helped me to remember some little details that I had to do in my day, as well as remembering some very interesting things from my past. Improved in concentration and focus. I would say that goes with increased flow state. I think that's a very similar, they're sort of saying that's marketing right there. That if you want a marketing tip, here you go. Increased flow state as one of the things it does, and improvement in concentration and focus. They're similar. So because concentration, you're in your flow state, focus, you're in your flow state. Anyway. Although I guess you could concentrate in a short amount of time and you wouldn't call that flow. It would be in the moment, I'm concentrating quickly. It's a quicker concentration. Increasing creativity, that's great. I'm a very creative person as it is, but I have come up with some solutions already that were previously bothering me, that I didn't feel like I could come up with an answer. So that's definitely something I did actually notice. And it boosts neuroplasticity. And so neuroplasticity is when neurological tissue is able to not be so rigid. Basically, it's the opposite of rigid. So it can morph or move around its situation. And that means that it's almost like when they build the really high-rise buildings and it's windy, they need to have a little bit of plasticity, a little bit of give, or else the building would just fall down and break, right? And that's the same idea with your cells. There's some ability to respond well to stimulus rather than being almost like cellular overwhelm, right? You don't break, you bend, and that's how you protect a lot of brain tissue. Is we speak in terms of neuroplasticity. So there's the different. I'll just show my viewers here. Those are the different amounts in each container. So the 15, 25, and 50 caps. If you do the math on the prices, as you obviously go up in caps, the price of each capsule goes down. What it contains, this particular product, Microdose Mushrooms Neuroblend, it's 80 milligrams of organic psilocybe sinensis. So that's basically a type of mushroom that contains a certain percentage of psilocybin. 200 milligrams of lion's mane. We'll talk about lion's mane mushroom. 150 milligrams of organic reishi mushroom, 150 milligrams of organic chaga mushroom, and 40 milligrams of niacinamide. And that's a Stacks protocol. And this is an image I'm showing right now of what the flow state is. And what it shows is when it's on the high requirements, you have stress, burnout, fear of failing, overwhelmed, concern, and excitation. And then you get flow. And then below flow, you have security, boredom, under challenged, weariness, stress, because you're bore out. You're just flat affect. And that's in the competencies side of the scale. And that, so they're trying to describe flow to you, literally almost like a flow chart. So anxiety, depression, obviously a lot of people have anxiety and depression issues that this would serve. It's not something that's going to get you high or get you feeling like you're having a psychedelic experience. It's something very functional. And I've had some people ask me, is this going to get me high? Is this going to affect my experience in a negative way? And no, it's very light. In fact, I've been giving it to my daughter as well, who's 8, in her applesauce. I just open up. I started with a quarter of a capsule, and now I'm giving her a half a capsule. I've only given her 2 doses, and I'm going to spread it out quite grand. But after the first dose, I asked her, I said, how are you feeling? She said, I feel good. I feel less stress. I'm like, what kind of stress do you have as an 8-year-old who can literally play all day long? You don't even go to school. So what kind of stress would you be experiencing? So it's amazing that even an 8-year-old can, in this day and age, is experiencing some level of stress or feeling some level of stress. She says, yeah, her stress is very limited now. And she said she feels good. She feels calmer. And that was interesting feedback from her as well. So it is safe for children. You just need to temper the dose and make sure that they're tolerating it well. And they will tell you with feedback. It's great for those who have ADD, ADHD, autism, any type of neuroplasticity disorder, seizure disorders, sleep disorders, any other mood disorder, bipolar. Schizophrenia is a special case. I could see where it would be beneficial, even just specifically for the level of niacin in the product, because niacin is pretty much a cure for schizophrenia. It has to be in high doses. So if you were dealing with someone with schizophrenia, I would do this, treat the gut. You can watch my gut videos on that. And also do high doses of vitamin C. And as well, you have to take the niacinamide higher than what's in this product. So you'd want to do more. The other thing I learned was that these mushrooms do really well with vitamin D in alignment with the protocol. So I've added vitamin D into, I take it with it. I take vitamin D with it. If you want to look on my website, I have some nice vitamin D options for a liquid vitamin D, which I prefer than swallowing. And also I decided I would add another layer to the stack of Paul Stamet's stack protocol. And I add in ginkgo biloba as well as my B multi, because I want it to all be a synergistic effect on levels of anxiety and on my cognition and memory. And that I find they all work very well together. And so I just take a B multi after I've eaten something. And with this product, you do want to have something on the stomach before you eat, before you take it, because the niacin can make things a little sensitive in the stomach. The mushrooms themselves, I find okay. Some people are sensitive to those as well. So just to have something small before you go and dose. And you can feel free to blend with this is the one I'm using right now, ginkgo capsules here. And it's 350 milligrams of ginkgo in it, and it's a concentrated one. So I take one of those. I take the B multi. I take my D, all together with the mushroom, and I use iodine in my water quite regularly, so that will go in there too. Because if you're not coastal, if you don't live by an ocean, you can be deficient in minerals, so that's can be a problem. Okay, so there's sort of a general idea of how to dose, but really, I think what you would want to do is at least start with maybe say a 15, so do a 7, take 7, take a break, and take 8, and see how you do, and then you could see if that's enough for you for a while, or if you want to do it again. Yes, vitamin D also needs K2, but really what K2 does is vitamin K2 shuttles calcium into the bone matrix. So everyone needs K2 just to prevent osteoporosis. So really there's a thing is not, it's not all separate. Everything plays off everything else. They're all cofactors. So you want a good mix of everything in there, because they all bounce off each other, and all the fat solubles have a relationship with one another, A, D, E, and K. You know, all of the calcium, magnesium has a lot of relationship to each other. The vitamin K2 to the calcium. So they all have issues with each other. And of course, all of these minerals and vitamins you need to get on a daily basis, ideally through your food. That's how it was meant to be. It was meant to come from the soil and the food, or from the water, or from the air, and that's how you get your nutrients. And now we're in such a poorly state that we've diminished the soils, we've damaged our food stocks, we've caused all kinds of pollution in the environment, we've done quite a number on this earth, and we poison everybody at birth with vaccines and vitamin K and niacinamide and crap and antibiotics and all this garbage, and it's amazing the human race is still here. That's all I have to say. With all the stupid, absolute, murderous, heinous evil that is the chemical medicine cult, it's a testament to how strong we are that we're still actually here. With all the bombardment of their ridiculous, suppressive, DNA altering attacks on us. But, you know, I was thinking also today how blessed my daughter is, because she hasn't been touched by any of those quacks at all. And, you know, the things that I suffer from, even being anxious on any level, is all because I'm vaccine damaged, and I had tons of antibiotics and was treated basically like a guinea pig by the medical cult. And, you know, I suffer to this day from them, and makes me angry sometimes. And a lot of people, it's not just they're damaged and they can still function like I can, but a lot of them are debilitated or dead. So, you know, they have even more anger against this system. And, you know, because I have the store, I get a lot of walk-ins, and also I have a lot of people emailing me and telling me their stories. So I get a lot of feedback constantly, I mean, for the past decade. And it's always the same pattern over and over again. I went to the doctor and they did this to me. And, or I had multiple children. Like I had someone in here today, she has 4 children. The first few, she believed the doctors and they screwed up her kids. You know, they vaccinated them and gave them all kinds of problems, and did weird surgeries and unnecessary interventions and caused a lot of problems, and they still have problems today from it. And then she got wiser as she had more children, and as she began to have more children, she went less and less to the doctors, and the ones that are younger are the healthiest because they didn't get the attacks from these freaks who think they actually know something. And also the same stories I get are, you know, the doctor won't listen to me. I said that this is happening and they denied that it's happening. And it's just very frustrating to be told that you're an idiot about your own body. I mean, this particular client, she had quite a few head injuries, and the body is quite amazing, by the way, if you hadn't noticed. And she had an experience where she started to taste blood in her mouth, and she went to physio, and she leaned forward and her nose started to bleed, and a huge clot came down the back up, she said, like trickled down behind in her throat and came out her mouth, and she spit it out. And she hadn't been coughing, she hadn't had any chest issues, there was nothing of the sort. She distinctly felt it come from her head down past her nose and out her mouth. And I said, yes, it absolutely can happen. What happened is the clot from your brain injury has dislodged, and took about a month, and has come through and out, because that's how smart the body is. The body decided that was the best way for it to eliminate the problem, rather than absorb every last bit of it and put it back into the bloodstream and get it into the lymphatic system and get it out through the liver and the kidneys and all that stuff. That was too much work. So it's easier just to dump it out. And I said, of course, it's perfectly natural and normal. It happens all the time. And she said, when she told the doctor that, the doctor said, impossible. That could never happen. It must have come from your lungs. Let's do a CT scan. What? And forced her to go through a CT scan. She said, I haven't coughed in a long time. I have no chest complaints. She said, it didn't come up from down. It came from down, from behind. And he just denied everything she said. And I have heard this story so many times. I could literally write a whole 300-page book of people telling me this, and it would be chock full with very little spaces. And that they get away with this arrogance is just stunning to me. So I'm happy that we are getting to this place where we can have a psilocybin-based compound available to us, so we don't have to go on their poisonous, debilitating, suppressive, life-ending drugs like their, Ritalins and their antidepressants and their anxiolytics and all of these terrible mind chemical altering, which it isn't a mind chemical problem anyway, tinkering crap that they dole out like candy and take no responsibility for. These drugs produce suicidal ideation. And when the individual kills himself, does the psychiatrist or the MD take any responsibility for their deaths? No, they get away with murder, literally. So I'm going to go through also a chart to show you how safe microdosing mushrooms are, even if you are actually on these horrible drugs, because the problem with them is they also don't tell you that when you get on the drug, it's hard to get off the drug. And, you can't just quit cold turkey, basically. So, that's really something that is nice about using this. It's not going to conflict. The only contraindication of a medication while doing the microdoses is if you're on a hypertension medication, because it also affects the heart and the blood, and so you really should work to heal the blood first, come off the stupid drugs, which I can't tell you how many experiences I've had with people who are hypertensive, who are on these medications that are damaging their brains and actually ironically setting them up to have a stroke or a heart attack by never dealing with the root cause inflammation that caused their hypertension in the first place. never cleaning the blood properly. And I put them on, either a fish oil or another omega-3 fatty acids. If it's a cod liver oil, then it already has the A and the D in it. High doses of vitamin C and topical magnesium. And sometimes I put them on hibiscus flower water, and it always heals every single bloody time. So it's really not that hard. That's the thing that just shocks me all the time and people come to me like I've done some sort of miracle. To me, it's just common sense. It's absolutely logical. You're just putting in the things that work the body mechanisms. You're giving it the nutrients that it needs to work properly. That's literally what you're doing, and taking out the blockages and the suppression and the poison and letting the body actually do what it does. And when you do that, you don't have the disease force anymore, blood pressure, manipulating blood pressure is really, really dumb. People don't even think, oh, when you go for a jog, do you even go for a jog? Okay, do this. Go for a jog, and then immediately after the jog, check how high your blood pressure is. Okay, do that. Did you die? No, maybe you felt a little bit winded, but you're fine. That was a pretty high blood pressure. And now, say you go to a doctor's office and you're nervous and you're sitting in the waiting room and your anxiety's through the roof. What do you think your blood pressure is going to be looking like? High. And they even know this, and they still love to just push the drugs on you like candy, because they get kickbacks. They get for it. They get favors from their pharma buddies. They get handshakes at conventions where they all know each other. They go to conventions. They meet everybody face to face. They know all the reps, and they know, hey, buddy, you sell this many, we'll give you this trip to whatever. They do that stuff. They have incentive to give you the drugs. They do not have incentive to heal you and to make sure you never come back to them, or else they're out of a job. And you have to consider these things. So yeah, hypertension is very easy to balance naturally. Same with cholesterol, and all of those drugs should be off the market. It's criminal. It's literally like people really should be in jail for what is going on here. Okay. All right, so let's go through some of the details of this particular product. So I'm going to talk about the microdosing mushrooms. I'm going to show you pictures of, some of the raw mushrooms, which I'll have for sale soon. And then I'm going to go through some benefits and details and things like that, and not go on forever, hopefully. Now, the combination stack, it's called a stack. That's where you're getting really the clarity, the creativity, the focus, the elevation, right? And the reduction of the anxiety and depression. So, sometimes people have OCD, some people have other unwanted thoughts. It will help with these things as well. So this blend works by basically imitating serotonin in a sense by stimulating the 5-HT2A receptor located in the frontal cortex. And that does a few things to the brain. One, it produces something called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is BDNF, and that stimulates growth and connections and activity in different parts of the brain. Okay. It also increases the transmission of glutamate, and that's an important neurotransmitter that's responsible for brain functions such as cognition, learning, and memory. And isn't it interesting to note that one of my favorite things that I like to give to heal the gut is L-glutamine, and L-glutamine heals the gut tissue and mucosa because it fuels the cells of the gut mucosa for more rapid turnover and refreshing of the cells. But it also turns into glutamate for the brain, and glutamate is an essential neurotransmitter. And so you see right there a gut-brain connection, the fact that the L-glutamine serves both functions. Now, really, it's going to give you the brain boosting effects and the medical properties. And the whole idea with microdosing is to take a small dose to get the neurological benefits, and not taking a high enough dose to have psychedelic experiences. And it's the same thing if you're microdosing anything else, like cannabis or so forth, if you're using it for other benefits, right? And really, so you're not getting, like using CBD, you're not going to get THC stoned, right, when using it. It's using the right dosage and levels to have all the positive effects of the medicine. And that is what a fine, that is, all medicines have very specific dose and application, and when you respect the medicine, you do it like that. It's not meant for abuse. And I think what excites me about that this has been legalized is that what it says is maybe we're finally going to get somewhere as a culture of an adult responsibility, taking adult responsibility for our behaviors and actually becoming adults, where like children don't know limitation, right? Children just follow their impulses. They can't see the bigger picture, and they don't give themselves usually proper boundaries. An adult knows how to discipline themselves without someone telling them to do it, and knows their own limitations, their skill sets, and also when it's time to stop something. And I see a lot of children in adult bodies walking this earth, and these are usually people who are either not taught properly by their parents, or they weren't aware enough in their surroundings to pick up the pieces elsewhere through witnessing other people's behavior. So they didn't have finer models for them of adulthood, and they have to reparent themselves, which I think in some senses almost everybody does have to reparent themselves, just a little. I mean, I definitely had to step in my head as a parent, becoming a parent, and also say, no, this is the response. You have responsibilities that you need to continue to work on. You can't just decide to fluff it off because you're an adult, and that's what it means as a follow through. You leave the wishy-washy, right? You become in integrity, right? You know who you are, and then you act from that. So obviously respecting a medicine is an adult thing to do. Children party till they vomit, don't stop, do high doses of drugs, constantly stimulate themselves all up and down, coffee highs, and, wine lows, drinking their booze at night. They're coffee uppers and they're alcohol downers. And to me, when I see any type of person over the age of, say, 30 acting like this, to me, they're still children inside adult bodies, because they're not taking care of, first of all, they're not facing their own discomfort, which is an adult thing to do. And secondly, they're really just on the drug train and stimulating themselves, or using something external to themselves in a high enough dose to knock themselves out. And I think when you respect the medicine, you don't need to use it like that. Like this particular medicine, you don't need to use all the time. You're really going to use it to rehabilitate the brain. And then you don't take it. It's something that you do maybe a few times of the year to ensure that you're at optimal peak performance of your brain and to slow the aging of the brain. It's not something that you particularly are going to continue to do. Anyway, at some point in time, you can build a tolerance to it. You wouldn't want to do that anyway. So ideally, being disciplined with it is very respectful to yourself and to the medicine itself. The act of microdosing has been shown to benefit or help with the following: anxiety, concentration, depression, creativity, social anxiety, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, stress relief, mental energy, ADHD, and motivation. I pretty much think the entire population has at least one thing in this list. Neurogenesis is the process by which new neurons are formed in the brain to make new connections and networks. Medical practitioners used to believe that neurogenesis stopped occurring at the age of 25, and that's the brain's neurons decrease with age. This thought process has been tested by microdosing mushrooms, and many believe that we have been wrong to believe that neurogenesis cannot occur later in life. Psilocybin will act on the hippocampus, hippocampus is a complex brain structure that has a major role in learning and memory. So that 5-HT2A, with increasing the glutamate, it has a relationship to the hippocampus. and they'll communicate with one another. So the frontal lobe will communicate with the hippocampus. And what happens when you make these connections, when you decrease the activity of this DMN, which is called our default mode network. I didn't even learn in naturopathic college about default mode network, this part of the brain. I mean, there's a lot of things that we're missing knowledge about. So this is part of our brain, and it's a very overused part of the brain, this default mode network. And when you decrease that activity, then you make better brain connections. So the DMN in our brains is responsible for numerous mental activities, such as thinking about the past and the future and self-reflection. So if you overstimulate this DMN, you get, the depressed, too many thoughts of the past, and I should have said this, and this person did this to me, and you feel depressed, you feel anxious. It's this hyperactive state of all this bad things that have happened to you, and you're mulling. It's the mulling center of the brain, right? Where you're just focused on negative stuff that's happened to you, and you're trying to maybe cope with it, but you're really just spinning your wheels. And that's the DMN. And so microdosing slows that down. So then you can think a bit more naturally, and then you're not stuck in these loops, right? So the new thought patterns then are formed because it's decreased the DMN. It can create new hippocampus frontal lobe connections. And then this worrisome stuff doesn't need to happen anymore anyway, because now you're going to find new solutions to what you were concerned about in the first place. And this is very commonly seen in post-traumatic stress disorder, where this, they're going over and over the event, because really what they're trying to do is close the open loop in their head of whatever happened in the event. So if someone got killed in front of them, they're replaying it over and over again, and they're trying different scenarios. Like, if I'd just done that, maybe it wouldn't have happened, or if I'd stepped in there, or they're doing fantasy, they come in, they rescue them, or something like that. And what they're trying to do is shake off the experience by closing the loop, which thereby puts it in another pile in the brain rather than reliving it over and over again, right? And there's actually virtual reality software that has been used to heal post-traumatic stress disorder. As much as it might sound alarming, what happens is the program recreates the event, and they live it out, but with a different ending. So because we can't discern between fantasy and reality, which is a weakness for humans in a lot of ways, because therefore our manipulators have really done a number on us in a lot of ways with all their lies because of this fact. But what the virtual reality signal gives is it's real enough that they can often let go of the repeating thought. And we learned this actually from studying polar bears that were, running. So in, the Arctic, they're running polar bears, and then you have, a helicopter with a gun that's going to knock them out, so they can do tests on the bears and measure their paws and do all the doodads that the scientists will do on the bears and tag them and everything. So the tranquilizer gun knocks them out quite quickly as they're running. And what they'll see is once the tranquilizer wears off, the bear first will continue the running pattern that it was in at the beginning before they were knocked out. And then once they realize that they're still laying down, they do a very violent shaking off of the experience. They physically shake off the trauma of the experience, and they're back to normal. And that's what we need to do to heal the process, is shake it off. But because we have the trauma repeating in our heads, we can't do that. And the virtual reality, the microdosing mushrooms, these types of things will help shift the focus and complete the loop, and find in a microdosing mushrooms fashion, it will find a conclusion, because it will help the creativity of the mind find some piece of the puzzle was missing, so it could close the loop that way. So there's multiple ways that you can close this open loop in the brain for post-traumatic stress disorder. It's kind of expensive to have somebody build you a virtual reality machine based on your specific experience, and I think it's a lot easier to use some mushrooms or LSD to get the job done personally. Okay, so that's the basis of what's happening in the brain. Now, how to microdose. So there's two suggestions that the company that I wholesale from that they suggest. There's two main methods. Basically, it's simple. There's a day on and a day off, and you alternate all the way. They do suggest between 24 and 48 hours, depending on between doses. So it depends on the results you're after. Really what they're trying to do is prevent a brain from any type of tolerance. Hi, baby. Method 2 is sort of a building protocol, and it's the one if you want more long-term benefits. Don't lay on my keyboard now. Long-term benefits. If you have something more severe, then this is how you would do it. You take one capsule because they've designed it to have 80 milligrams of psilocybin. Then you take two. Day 2, you take one. Day 3, you take one. Day 4, you take one. Day 5, so you do all the way 5 days, 1 day off, and no microdose on day 7. Okay, so what they're doing is 5 days on and 2 days off in a week. So 5 and 2, 5 and 2, 5 and 2. Now I'm doing something a bit different. I'm doing 3 and 1 right now because that felt right for me. And what I'm saying is this is a suggestion that they've said, but I think there's a few more dosing options available depending on how you're feeling. And I'm very intuitive with my body. I'm empathic enough that I'm a lightweight with these things, and I trust my body. And when I woke up that, after that third dose that morning, I felt I'm going to just take a break today. And I just trusted that. That's all. And what was interesting, what I noticed right away, now I normally sleep okay, but typically because my cat is a kitten and she likes to play at night, she does wake me up quite often, even though I do wear earplugs. So I usually get up at least once a night at some point. And but with the mushrooms, I slept. I don't think I've actually slept all the way through the night without one little disturbance for quite some time. And I had 2 solid nights of sleep like that, and that was quite remarkable. I definitely noticed that, and that's after a couple of doses. That's very quick to have your sleep altered in a significant way, really. So that was nice to have that. And I definitely got the first day I felt tired in the afternoon. I felt like I needed to sleep. I felt like it was doing something and it was healing some part of me that wanted to make me lay down and rest. And that was a bit difficult because I was working. So I would say the first time you dose, pick a day where if you do happen to want to have a nap, you can. So whether it's a day off, a Sunday, something where it's going to be okay. If you feel tired at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you can take a little power nap. Okay. It says do not take with other medications, but I want to show you what you can. This is just more disclaimer stuff, self-protection, but there you actually can, do it with, in most situations, but everyone's different. And so really you should do it with a practitioner if you're not sure. And if you are taking medications, you should tell your doctor what you're trying to do and have them lessen your medication and say you're going to try to come off of this and this is what you're working on. And what was the other thing I was going to say? Oh yes, and they also say that for certain cases of depression, really you should see a qualified psychologist, a holistic psychologist ideally, and a counselor of some sort where you have at least some aspect of talk therapy so that whatever's starting to heal with you, you have a good avenue of a very good listener who you can speak to, and it will help the process of your healing of depression or something very traumatic. So it's always advised to do this with wisdom, right? And that's why I'm saying I feel excited that this has been allowed, because it presupposes that people are going to be responsible with things. And same thing with DMSO, it presupposes because you can mistreat some of these things. So you really have to, and this is why a practitioner like myself, I have access to it, but if you're not a practitioner, you can't just go and get it. You have to be able to get it through someone who's going to be there for you if you need help, right? And so it's a responsibility part to it. And really, that's what any type of medicine should come with, really. There should be a responsible practitioner at the helm who's doling it out, so that that individual who has purchased that drug or medicine or whatever knows that they can come to someone who knows what they're doing, and also knows how to respond to something that's might be happening with them, right? And that's really how our social structure should be set up, so that it's responsible like that. And what I see more and more is that particularly MDs, they're very irresponsible with how they dole out the medicine, and that they're not available often when things are going wrong, and definitely not in a timely fashion, as I've heard the horror stories again and again. I mean, how long do people wait for specialists, for goodness sake, especially in Canada? Okay, so let's go to some of the sites that I've pulled up. Just wanting to move this over. Okay. So what is the psilocybin mushroom? Microdosing, basically, it's an unnoticeable amount of a psychedelic for all of these improved skills, heightened spiritual awareness, enhancing your other senses, and healing different types of mood disorders, dealing with anxieties we spoke of. And there's a Beckley Foundation, and they have spearheaded a push for the legalization of psilocybin mushrooms, backed by long-term positive effects found in their research conducted on treatment-resistant depressant. So basically what they did is they took depressive patients that have been on all these types of medications, and they're not healing and things are getting worse, and they studied them using this, and they had a lot of great success. And even addictions such as smoking can be overcome with psilocybin. Research at Johns Hopkins reported an 80% abstinence rate among a group of longtime smokers who took psilocybin as part of their cognitive behavioral therapy. Aside from psychological issues, mushrooms and LSD have been found to be comparable or more efficacious than most conventional medications in treating cluster headaches. Many people have experienced extended periods of remission after taking them. So if you do have cluster headaches, and even I did read something about migraine headaches, which I'm hoping is going to help me with my situation, even though I know it's a dental injury, to see at what level is it going to repair some of the damage to the tissue. There's obviously a history of psychedelics back into the 1950s. There was a major revitalization with the publishing of Dr. James Fadiman's The Psychedelic Explorer's Guide to Safe, Therapeutic, and Sacred Journeys in 2011. So that looks like an interesting book to read. The book explores microdosing as a subculture of psychedelic use. While a number of indigenous cultures, as well as modern professionals, have used microdosing to unlock a host of benefits, Fadiman's book formally introduced the term microdosing into the psychedelic mainstream. So he's the first person to introduce that terminology, microdosing. Fatty man. Fatty man, not fatty man. Fatty man. Following the publication of the Psychedelics Explorer's Guide, the next boost in the public's awareness of microdosing came from a podcast interview the author gave with Tim Ferriss in March of 2015. See how what's amazing to me is how what this technological era is doing is allowing anyone to just have a podcast, a video like what we're doing here, any of these types of things, and make a huge influence on the culture. It's amazing to me. I mean, when I started talking about, the myth of viruses causing disease and the germ theory falsity, there were, other than Stefan Lanka and a handful of others, Robert O. Young, there was nobody talking about this. And now I see more and more people talking about this openly. So it's amazing what the influence can be, right? How it spreads by talking about it on your soapboxes. So the awareness began from there, and Ferriss wrote The 4-Hour Work Week. By the way, you may have heard about that book, and he was talking about biohacking or self-experimentation, psychology, spirituality, and other subjects. So that might be something to look into as well. Another source of interest in microdosing came from Ayelet Waldman's 2016 book, A Really Good Day, How Microdosing Made a Mega Difference in My Mood, My Marriage, and My Life. So she does a 30-day protocol of microdosing, and she talks about it in this book. And basically, she was having all these mood swings, and it was affecting her marriage negatively and damaging her relationship with her children and stuff. And this really changed her whole life. And yeah, so that's that. And now we're going to it talks about in this particular article, which I'll link to down below. It basically shows that some of the psychedelics and the relationship of the psychedelics to serotonin in the brain, even though serotonin obviously has a huge effect, but it's more complicated than just one neurotransmitter. And again, when you use something that's more natural or familiar to the body, you don't have really side effects per se, because the body's going to be able to recognize it and cope with it properly. But serotonin, the structure of serotonin, has a similar ring structure to LSD and as well to psilocybin. In fact, it's interesting, the psilocybin is even more closely related than LSD to the serotonin. I can see by some of the bonds here in this particular LSD that I can see why it would give you some more psychedelic activity. There's a few more ring structures in there. So many antidepressants, they're SSRIs, so they're selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. They try to make more serotonin more plentiful, so they try to flood you with it, but they actually drain your serotonin, and you have feedback loops. So over time, you have to always take more of the medication. But psychedelics, they work more directly. So rather than trying to make more of it, they actually mimic serotonin. So it's like you just have more present rather than trying to push to make it. And that means you're going to get that stimulation of the 5-HT2A. And we talked about the brain-derived neurofactor and the glutamate thing. So I'll give you this link. It's got lots to talk about, different schedules. This schedule that they have on this page is different. It says day 1 is a dose day, day 2 no dose, day 3 no dose, day 4 is a dose. Okay, so there's another. And what I'm starting to notice is there's no right or wrong way. It's really just about not building up a tolerance and really testing your responses to it and how you are feeling. And so that's a very individual response. Concern for your health is another valid reason to avoid microdosing every day. There is a potential heart risk of taking too many psychedelics over a long period of time. They don't really know how it works in microdosing, but they know that there's a heart risk if you're doing it on large scale. So if you're getting some of the mushrooms from me, don't take all of these at once. Okie dokie. Then you be stoned all the time. And that can have implications that are negative because that's not the correct dose, right? And it says another downside of microdosing every day is the normalizing a very potent substance. You can compare it to the use of coffee for productivity purposes. When you drink coffee every day, over time, you need to increase the dose to get the same effect. Within a couple of months, 1 cup turns into 2, 3, or 4 cups. That's why you leverage microdosing as an occasional advantage rather than a consistent go-to like coffee. They talk about microdosing retreats. There's retreats and things. So it says that to reduce the frequency and intensity of undesirable states caused by various forms of mental illness, including depression, anxiety, ADD, mood disorder, PTSD, addiction, or to increase the frequency and intensity of desirable states. So either you're doing it to treat one of those negative states, or you're doing it to enhance a positive state like creativity, energy, flow states, productivity, improved relationships, increased empathy, athletic coordination, and leadership development, because it's going to help boost your confidence, right? So I like this website actually. It goes through some of the risks as well. So it says before you start to microdose, check your local laws and find out. Some countries will have harsh penalties still, so it's best to, obviously you want to try to do it legally as best you can. So really look that up and find out where your legislation is would be wise. But it's really opening up now, which is fantastic. And I'm so impressed with Canada, because Canada took forever for CBD to even, it's still not even that great. Still not even really everywhere. Not in the States, like in the US, it's like everywhere, the CBD and just pot. Here it's not like that. Okay, so there's some charts and stuff. So speaking of charts, I want to, not this one, I'm going to show you a chart wherever it happens to be. Here it is. And it's a guide to drug combinations. It's a very handy chart that just helps you see if you're doing a couple of different things, are they going to interact? Are you going to have a problem? It's kind of teeny tiny. Let's see if I can just dig this up here. There we go. So essentially what it has, like cannabis with cannabis. So it's in a dual chart, LSD with LSD, you know, and then you go all the way down. So let's say MDMA with caffeine. Let's go for that one. MDMA with caffeine is a yellow, which means yellow, where's our key, is risky. Don't do that. That's risky. Let's see, opioids with anything, risky. Opioids with cannabis, okay. Opioids with LSD is safe. Cool. Opioids with, what's DXM? I don't even know what that is. There's lots of fun things in this list. Ooh, DMT. DMT looks pretty safe across the board. What's blue mean? Blue means safe, decreased effects. Okay, there's a decreased effect. Interesting chart. You can really play with this one. Now, if we go to the mushroom level of things, we see a lot of green lights, green safe, or blue where the combinations might decrease the effects of the one of the two of them. And white is neutral effect, and yellow is when you get risky. And the only two ones that are yellow are hypertension meds, or sorry, can give hypertension in cocaine. So don't do coke with mushrooms. Are we good with that? You okay with that? Oh my God, I bet there's people who do that too. Cocaine. Next is on the list with mushrooms. Yeah, that was interesting. Is, oops, sorry, I bigged it up too much. This is a very long, hard to read chart. Oh man. Okay, is alcohol. So don't booze and mushrooms. Don't booze and mushrooms. And yeah, that's, and they're only yellow risks as well. So, you know, just do a little cocaine, not a lot, I guess. There's no red zones for mushrooms, and red zones is that you just don't do it. So that's really amazing, really, when it comes down to it, isn't it now? Mushrooms, cocaine, SSRIs, MAOIs were good. Opioids were good, benzos were good, amphetamines, no problems, ketamine, go for it, you know. I'm sure there's a lot of PCP, have a good time. I'm not condoning any of that. I'm just laughing. There's a lot that interact here. And, but my point is, with mushrooms, you're pretty good. So no stress, okay? Now, of course, you should come off of some things and try not to be drugging yourself and try not to hurt yourself and, you know, all of that. But yeah, you're good. So there's a lot of really cool links. I mean, there's tons. Once I open up this world, there's so much information on different dosages and the healing benefits. And, you know, a lot of the research is overlapping. But so when I do start selling the dried mushrooms, so this particular one's called wavy caps. So it looks like that. I'll show both cameras. So there's the wavy cap mushrooms there. Here you go, other camera. And I didn't weigh this one out, but basically it says do 0.3 of a gram of the dry psilocybin mushroom once every 3 days. So that's a microdosing suggestion if you're just doing the raw mushrooms. And the best way is to chop it up really fine and put it in a tea blend. I find that more palatable that way. I think I just closed a tab. I got a new computer and it has a touch screen. It's really freaking me out. So I'm like, oh, that thing, pointing at that thing, and then some stuff happens because this is the first time I've had a touch screen. So I may have closed something off there. But anyway, so that's a suggestion. And that's a microdose. If you do 1/2 gram, you're going to be pretty high. So if you want to do it as a psychedelic experience, you do, 1/2 gram to 1 gram in a dose. So, and if you keep doing that, you will dull it down. So taking the fun out of it, am I? Sorry. Okay, so keep a journal, it says, to track your perceptions. So really, it should be done mindfully, right? This isn't just something to just, if you're going to do the mushrooms, like mushrooms, then do it mindfully and journal. How am I feeling? What were the side effects, if there were any? What were the symptoms? How did I feel? What were the thoughts? And do it really as your own therapy. So wavy caps and golden teacher are more for pros who have done microdosing before, because they will produce quite psychedelic experiences in higher amounts. For the noob, as they say, the Mexicana variety is what you want to start with. So I will have all 3 varieties available, but the Mexicana is like chill, but not like, what? I'm seeing my face melt, it's a little more non-freak out-ish in many ways. So that's where I would suggest. So basically, I don't really know the golden teacher versus the wavy caps. It looked like the wavy caps was more intense. I think I pulled all of them up here. 1 second. Yeah. So the golden teacher, they said, is a type of magic mushroom derived from the Psilocybin cubensis strain. And the active ingredients are psilocybin and psilocin. The mushroom named golden teacher due to its shiny yellow and gold caps and didactic effects. Didactic is kind of like a teacher effect. These mushrooms have been known to have shaman-like capabilities and are among the most popular strain of magic mushroom. This mushroom is great for smaller doses, first-time users, or casual users due to its sensation-enhancing effects. Body size and brain chemistry play a role in how each individual will react to magic mushrooms, along with your emotional states and surroundings. If it is your first time using magic mushrooms, it is recommended to do them in a safe, comfortable environment and to consider having a sober companion join you. So that's the raw dried of that one. So golden teacher is actually pretty chill as well. Must be the wavy caps, that's the biggie. Here, let's read that one. Microdose mushrooms, Psilocybin sinensis, also known as wavy cap mushrooms, are very popular species. They're found in BC. I buy them from British Columbia. And in other parts of the Pacific Northwest, they're known to be among the most potent species of psychedelic mushrooms, which makes them widely sought after for spiritual use. Upon ingesting Psilocybin sinensis, users may experience overwhelming visual enhancements, a heightened sense of sound, extreme feelings of euphoria, and a noticeable connection to people, nature, and the universe. That's great. What? Anyway, later. These psychedelic mushrooms, I still can't get over it, will provide users with extreme feelings of happiness, cause laughter, and provide a closer connection to self. Oh, we have arrived, people. Okay. The Mexicana, Psilocybin mexicana, is a hallucinogenic mushroom species, and in most circumstances oxidizes blue and has a farinaceous odor and taste. Alrighty. They are naturally found in Central America and the states of Mexico and Guatemala, makes sense, where they were discovered 2,000 years ago. So we've been dosing for a long time. The Mexicana has both happy and energetic effects, which are perfect for beginners as they provide a less overwhelming and calm experience. Okay, there you go. Those are the 3 types that we have. That's that chart. I don't know why I have this open. Let me go over here. This is in the way all the time. I'm going to put it down here. Okay, let's go to lion's mane now, because lion's mane is in the microdose mushrooms, and I actually started taking lion's mane tincture a while ago because I knew it had a lot of brain supporting enhancements, and horses trip on mushrooms. What? I just read it, a comment. He had 20 grams of dried mushrooms. Oh my gosh. He had the constitution of a horse. Oh my God. I'm sure there's many a book that has been written with someone high on mushrooms. Okay, so this particular one, anti-aging, anti-fatigue, anti-hypertensive, that's one of the reasons why I'm saying if you're on hypertension meds, I don't think it's good to take this particular one, because it's going to lower your blood pressure, and you should already be coming off of blood pressure medication if you're going to take something like this, or cutting back quite significantly, because you really don't want to have conflicting or synergistic actions like a drug and then something else that's lowering it. Like if I put somebody on the antihypertensive protocol, I tell them right away the next day, once they start the protocol, that day, same day or the next day, they have to half their medication and start to slowly come off of it, because you don't want multiple effects of the same action, because then you'll go too low and then you faint, fall down, get dizzy, whatever, right? You don't want any of that stuff. Anti-hyperlipidemic, anti-sinensis, anti-aging. Cardioprotective, hepatoprotective, neuroprotective, nephroprotective. Nephro is the nephron, so kidney protective, and improves anxiety, cognitive function, and depression. Yeah, we know that part. But it's also a natural antibiotic. It's anti-carcinogenic. It's anti-diabetic. Lion's mane is like quite a miraculous mushroom, and it looks like freaky and cool and lion's mane like, but awesome. So it enhances brain function. There's all the studies. It's on Dr. Axe's site. Talks about neuron growth and the dendrites and axons, which are part of the way that the cells grow. So it increases those cells to grow, which is amazing. So if you smoked a lot of pot, this one's for you. It's also significant. Oh, where'd my screen just go? What just happened? What happened? My screen just freaked out on me. And like, you know how you're not supposed to have blue light on your devices, and you should put it on night mode so that it's like got a red hue. So I've done that with all my devices, right? Because you should have it on night mode all the time, because you don't want blue light in your face, because it's very damaging to your eyes, and it's very exhausting. And so all of a sudden my night light just failed on my computer, and now it's all blue. It's really weird. I'll fix that later. But anyway, we're on to blue light now. And may protect against cancer, Parkinson's disease. I mean, they've done so many studies on lion's mane. It's amazing. And again, when we know this stuff, why, the doctors aren't even going, hey, did you hear about lion's mane? Here's some information on lion's mane. You should learn about it. And they're not telling you about this, right? They're not informing you. It's just criminal. Protects against various kinds of cancers, leukemia, stomach cancer, lung cancer, cervical cancer, liver cancer, colon cancer, breast cancer. I mean, holy moly. Phytochemicals, supports the heart and circulatory system, improves digestive health, reduces inflammation. It's beautiful. Yes, it is. I should pin it. Enhances brain function, may protect against cancer. I mean, diabetes, like, what do you want? What else do you want? Nutritional facts. So you've got, what does it say? At least one source of 84 grams contains 20 calories. So there's 2 grams of protein, 3 grams of carbohydrates in it. There's 32 bioactive compounds. They're saying it's rich in potassium, zinc, iron, and selenium, mainly selenium, I think, if you highlighted it. Yeah, amazing. So that in the microdosing mushrooms, there's 200 milligrams of lion's mane mushroom in that. It's the highest of all the stacks in it. And then reishi mushroom is also in here. Both lion's mane and reishi are fungi used in traditional Chinese medicine for medicinal and therapeutic purposes. They have similar health benefits. So see, you're getting a synergy with this protocol, with this particular stack. And it promotes cognitive health by enhancing neurite outgrowth, which plays a critical role in neural growth while reducing inflammation. It is in Chinese medicine, it maintains qi, which is a person's vital energy, and improves issues affecting the central nervous system, recommended in patients dealing with Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, depression, anxiety, insomnia, and cognitive impairment. So maybe that was the factor in that helped me to sleep like that. Reishi mushroom is also known for its amazing healing properties. Like lion's mane, it has powerful anti-inflammatory and immune-boosting properties. It's also used to boost mental clarity, help the body deal with negative effects of stress, and that's why it's act like an adaptogenic herb, even though it's a mushroom. It contains polysaccharides, and that's the cancer-fighting stuff that you're after. So, yeah, dosage, they're saying anywhere from 300 to 3,000 milligrams this dose. So, thank you, Dr. X. Now we're on the National Institute of the Clinical Application of Behavioral Medicine website, and talks about post-traumatic stress disorder, the hippocampus, and the amygdala, and how trauma changes the brain. And that's a really good little article, and it has, you know, an explanation. It's a short little article that explains some of these parts of the brain, but really, the questions I'm getting about it is, you know, is it safe to take with other medications? Am I going to have a psychedelic experience? Am I going to have a negative experience? You know, what kind of things am I going to go through with that? And really, it's a lighter experience than you think. So you're not going to have you're not going to freak out, you know, you're not going to lose control of your senses or anything like that. It's in fact the opposite. We're going to be able to maintain your actually gain more control over the way you're feeling in your senses and these things. So it's not a negative experience, and I think a lot of people were afraid of that. Yeah, so really it's very simple, and I hope you feel comfortable to try it. I think it'll really assist your spiritual aspects of things and help you understand yourself better and deal with, you know, all kinds of situations and in your life that you're maybe running away from or having a hard time with, or you know, whatever. Okay, I put my nightlight back on because that blue light is intense. I can't stand it at all. The blue light, it's overwhelming, and I really notice it now that I've been on the night mode for so long. That if someone's got a blue light, I'm like, oh, get that away from me. I will talk soon about protecting ourselves from EMS because I'm having more and more conversations with people who are having electromagnetic field sensitivities, and I think that's going to be a very big growing situation with all this 5G murdering everybody in China and the 5G spreading across the earth. And, you know, it's a horrible idea. It's unnecessary. And it's, you know, we don't need this stuff through the air. We have fiber optic cables that can be used for all of this stuff. I do not understand why we are not using that infrastructure. It's so expensive to put chop down trees and put all these towers, you know, every so feet, rather than just dig it up, put down a cable once and you're good. That's what they did up here where I live. They put a fiber optics cable down. So even if 5G comes here, it's not going to be the same detrimental, murderous, horrific thing as it is in the air like that. So I don't understand what's. Okay, I do understand. It's a weapon. They're using it as a weapon. That's why they don't want it in the ground, because they can't use it as a weapon if they don't have it in airborne towers. I get it. But what I mean is that's the small percentage of the 1% pushing it. But why aren't the rest of the goons on the lower echelon that are clueless, why don't they say, hey, guys, why don't we do fiber optics? It's going to save us more money or whatever. Like, that's what the part that confuses me. Like, where are those people, you know, who are at least at the level of dealing with both sides, right? Oh my gosh. So, you know, I think the electromagnetic sensitivity is a big deal. And that's also why I'm liking the microdosing mushrooms aspect, because then at least you're offsetting some of the stress that all the electromagnetic fields are going to add into your body, because I know that when if I have a cell phone on my body, I feel more agitated. I feel more stressed. I had a woman in here today, and she had a similar experience, and she doesn't like even carrying it on her person because it leads to increased depression in the long run, but anxiety states. And so that's pretty fascinating that, we've got a EMF field relationship to stress, and lack of coping mechanisms. So, I think it's going to play, the mushrooms are coming at a timely place where we really have to protect ourselves against an onslaught of attacks from every level. I'm just going to look at the comments quickly. I didn't want this one to be a 4-hour video or anything like some of my epic ones. And I used to take Zoloft, anxiety, panic attacks, disorders, OCD, PTSD since my dad died when I was 7. Oh, that's horrible. I didn't take antibiotics till college. Another thing I do have for that'll stop a panic attack like in its track is Picannus Stabil. It's incredible. Like, really, you just take a few drops in your mouth and it'll stop a panic attack like immediately. So if you still have panic attacks, I think the microdosing mushrooms is a good way to really even those out. But in the meanwhile, like, have it in your bag or purse or something, like when you're out, that you can take it in the moment. And I lived through this because I actually was friends with someone for quite a while who suffered from panic attacks, and being empathic, I was around him a lot. And one day I went into a sauna, and sometimes hot and saunas are triggers for having a panic attack. And I was like, what's happening to me? So my first sense is I wanted to run away. So I didn't know why, but I said, I'm going to meet you over at the supermarket. We were going to pick up some stuff for breakfast. And I said, I'll meet you over there. And as I was driving, I felt like literally everybody was looking at me. I felt like everybody was staring at me in the cars driving. And I was so freaked out. And the other thing is, everyone looked like Yoko Ono. That should have been my first clue. Everyone's looking like Yoko Ono, so something's wrong up here. Not everybody is Yoko Ono driving a car right now. Anyway, sorry, my other camera went all blurry. So then I got to the supermarket, and I was feeling really sort of spacey. And then I went in, and the lights triggered it, and I started feeling like I was going to die, and I was breathing and sweating and heart racing and that whole thing. And I called my friend and I said, oh my God, I think this is what a panic attack is. And because I think the lights were part of the trigger. And he came over right away because he wasn't too far out. And I was sitting testing my blood pressure at the blood pressure cuff. And he's like, open your mouth. And he threw the Stabil in my mouth. And I'm not kidding. It stopped it just like that. It was like the second that went into my, through my mouth into my brain, it was over. And that was like the only time I ever had a panic attack. And I think honestly, it was just, as a healer, I get these very strange experiences all the time where I pick up on other people's things for a little bit and have a taste of it so that I can really understand it and get a new layer of experience with it. And that was one of these experiences. And I stalked that from that day forward for these things. So really the medications are only going to make things, harder, because you're really not dealing with why that's there. If you're taking a pill, you're just going to suppress the mechanism, which, remember, every symptom that you have in your body is the body trying to repair itself and heal itself. And it's not a problem. Like, you don't like it. You don't like the sensation of feeling uncomfortable, but the symptom itself is the body trying to correct the problem. And if you look at it like that, if you look at it through that filter, you're going to have a way easier time understanding what's happening to you when you're having a symptom. Immediately, if you rewire your brain to think, oh, my body's trying to heal something, what have I given it, or what have I done that now it's needing to do that? Then that will give you a proper framework to then go, okay, now I can apply these things to help the body do that action, like finish that action. And then you're not going to have the same complications. Then if you go to a medical doctor, they'll say that symptom's bad, let's stop it, let's suppress it, right? Which of course, you're stopping a natural bodily function, and eventually the mechanisms are going to override the drug, because that eventually will fail, because that's not what the body wants to do. And then you have a bigger problem, because now you've never dealt with the root cause. You're causing lots more nutritional deficiencies doing that and never addressing why it's there. This is going to get worse. And then when it has to overcome that, it's going to have the symptom more and higher, push through in a higher way. And that's why there's this war between put on the drug, the symptom comes back, higher drug, the symptom comes back, the higher. It always happens like that because the body's like, get lost. Like, no, we're doing this because we need to do this. If only you gave us some vitamin A, B, C, D, any of these, we could do this without you feeling like this crappy. But you won't, you're not paying attention. And in fact, you're depleting nutrition with giving us a drug. So here we are still suffering, and it's going to get worse for you until eventually all the resources are gone. And then that's called death. My hair looks cute. Thank you. Worked at that. The funny thing is, my hair needs to be washed. So you always know when it needs to be washed, it's up. Because this is, I'm so busy that I'm like, well, I showered. What do you want? I showered. The body is clean. We good? Hair, later. We deal with that later. It's a bigger deal. Oh, man. DMN. Okay, so we talked about, DMN, pretty sure what this is causing insomnia for me since childhood. See, that makes sense. I know a lot of people who I say, why can't you sleep? Well, I lay in bed and I think and think and think and think and think all night. Now, what I typically would do with these people before mushrooms is I would tell them to write down all their thoughts. Now, this is the time I typically meditate is before bed because of this. Because like I said earlier in my talk, when I get stressed, it's because I have too many things out there that I've have responsibilities for, and I can't keep track of everything. And then I feel overwhelmed. And then at night is when you go, oh crap, I did forget to email them, or I did forget that thing, right? And so before bed, if you meditate for a minute, you clear the mind, then usually what happens is all those to-do things pop up. And I just write them down quickly, like, remember you have to buy this at the grocery store. Remember this and this, these other things. Remember to call this person back you meant to, whatever. And I get that out physically. I get it out of my head. So then when I lay down, going into sort of a meditative state, right? Because you relax before you sleep, then you're done that. You did that. You'll remember it. You wrote it down. Remember? You're fine. Let it go. So your mind can release it. And that tends to help with the majority of people that I've taught them to do just a simple meditation journaling exercise before they go to bed, and they sleep a lot better. If they go to bed, at least they can go into sleep fine. Sometimes that's another problem where they wake at 3 a.m. or something, and that's typically an adrenal gland problem if they wake. So if they go to bed fine, but they wake at 2 or 3, that's their cortisol surging, and it's usually because they're either hungry, they didn't eat enough calories in the day, so their body's saying, get up, eat, or they're having stress problems where their cortisol levels are, all over the map, and that's waking them at wrong times of the day. Or they were a farmer in their past life. Something like that. Thanks for advice. I'm suffering a lot from depression since I was born. I have low levels of serotonin, which causes a lot of sad thoughts, and I have post-traumatic stress disorder. Seems I meditate, it doesn't help. It's not just necessarily going to be meditation. I think with depression, the other thing you have to do is you have to exercise. You must. I don't care if it's 10 minutes. You've got to move the blood, absolutely necessary. You will not I can tell you from my own experiences of depression, you will not get out of depression if you do not move your body, period. Okay. So whatever it takes, like, I was writing a book. This was a weird year for me. And normally I'm more active, and this year I wasn't, and it was like really playing with my head. And so I bought a little tiny stationary exercise bike, and literally just doesn't take a lot of time, 10 minutes, move the muscles, move the blood, huge difference, helps me sleep better, way less anxiety, but mainly it's the low, right? It's the depression part. If you move your body and you move your blood, you're more likely to pull yourself out of that. So I would say if you've had depression for that long, you really want to do have some talk therapy, some counseling, doing workbooks and reflective work, the meditation, the microdosing mushrooms, possibly some other detoxes and supports, cellular supports, other neurological supports like the B vitamins, B12 specifically, maybe either working on the ketogenic side more for a little while, or just making sure you're getting enough omega-3 fatty acids and magnesium and these kinds of things. And that's going to help a lot. I mean, magnesium and B multi alone can really do a lot for people. And I ask people all the time that are depressed, like, are you taking like B multi, or are you taking, like, what are you eating? What are you doing? and they're not doing any of these things. And it's a very simple fix. So test them one at a time and see what works for you. But oh, stop it, Jennifer. Your skin is glowing. You know what's happening is that I'm blasted with lights right now. So I'm glowing all right. I'm like, I'm pretty warm. I'm not used to that. You know, it's almost like when I used to do a lot of drama in university. I used to do a lot of productions, and you get the lights on you, right? You'd sweat like a mother because they're hot lights. You didn't have LEDs back then. I know people have been on psych meds for 30 years, and unpopular opinions and shrooms cause a shit ton of manic psychotic breaks, blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, sure. I mean, if you're doing shrooms, like you're, you know, eating shrooms, like a lot of them, yeah, that might not be fun for you as an expression. But if you're microdosing, it's going to be a different experience. It's not going to be quite so psychotically breaky, right? And so, and I wouldn't suggest it for COMT. Yeah, that's a good point. It'd be interesting to see about different mutations, COMT, MTHFR, what type of detox mutations might be going on. That would be a good screening situation. Like in autistic kids, they might not be able to deal with that very well. So you would really want to screen. I mean, that's the type of case anyway that I wouldn't say just throw it randomly at. They should be working with a practitioner of that kind of situation. And you're really going microdosing on really small levels to help neurological function go. But I'd even argue in the case of what you're saying is that the psychotic break may have served them in the long run, because it was remember I was saying about you suppress and then it comes up in this, right? Well, they're already, the mechanism is already at its height, and it's got to reset. And that's why, that's why I was on my Facebook page. I was like, why did I pop my Facebook page up for this? Well, it's because I had, there I am. I had a article open of how when you take 500 hits of LSD, what it does, right? So it was a couple of studies that I posted about people who took 1,000 milligrams of LSD and what happened. And I mean, they had resets of the brain. And so what's a psychotic break, right? It's like, to me, that's a type of a reset of the brain. And these people in this situation having, 550 times an average dose or more, they were having extreme long trips, like 34 hours, which is whoa. But they were coming out of it free of the mental debility that they went in with, like post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety disorders, and so forth, right? So, but it's definitely something to look at. If you do have genetic mutations that prevent detoxification, then you should be taking anyway folate, like methylfolate, methyl supports. That would be prudent to do, methyl B12. So you've got enough methylation aspect happening, so you're able to process whatever breakdown products you're creating, especially if you are doing high doses of these things. You're going to want to be able to detox the effects properly through the liver, and you can't do that if you don't have proper folate systems working, right? But you can fix that. It's not if you know how to fix it with nutrition, you can. And typically it's using the methylfolate, methyl B12, and something called TMG or DMG, which is trimethylglycine or dimethylglycine, and it gives you the CH3, which is a methyl group that feeds the methyl groups. So it gets those machineries, all going to get together, and they're all interconnected. So once you get one going, the other starts to go, and so forth. I repeat myself when I don't like a situation or outcome. I hate that process and anxious feeling. Well, I mean, there's lots of different therapies that you can use when you're facing a situation that you have anxiety about. And I said to one of my clients who came in today, I said, because she keeps getting in multiple car accidents. I said, well, what's going on now when you drive? Like, how are you feeling? She's like, I'm always looking in the rearview mirror because I'm just waiting for somebody to hit me from behind. I mean, she's had all of these car accidents where people have hit her from behind. I said, well, what you fear, you draw near. So you are anxiously awaiting and encouraging manifestation of the very thing you fear. So being aware of that when you're going into situations like that is, you want to prepare so that you're not in a state of fear. And I think the microdosing mushrooms would be a good thing to overcome that level of fear. And then there's other therapies like, working through different workbook exercises and talk therapy and things where you can have a new perspective on how you're handling it. And that's why I like this, because it's helping your creativity. And when you're more creative, you're going to come up with more solutions, right? Like I was looking at my garage where I have overflow stock of stuff that I use for the store. Like I have a really, really large garage that I want to actually renovate into an extension of the business. And I look at that in how am I supposed to organize this? Because it's like such a big pile of boxes of stuff. And that can be overwhelming. But now that I'm using this and I'm starting to heal from some of my burnout, I'm able to then come up with a creative answer. And once you have a creative solution, the anxiety level goes down, because now you know what to do, right? And it's the same thing with situations with people. Autoimmune encephalitis root cause for many. Yeah, no kidding. Well, if you're vaccine damaged, you have autoimmune encephalitis. If you're vaccine damaged, which everyone is who's had a vaccine, then you're going to have toxicity in the tissue. Where's the body? How's the body going to get rid of these strange poisons that it's never, ever, and normally never in nature would have directly injected into the body? It's ridiculous. So usually it stores it in fat cells, or stores it in joints, or stores it, whatever tissue is inert in the moment, it'll store there. And as things grow or change, then it has to move things around. That's why you get mercury moving around the body all the time, depending on this area is now changing and growing. The mercury comes out of the tissue, and then it's got to be redeposited in other tissue. It's really hard to get rid of some of this stuff, right? And you have to go after it. You have to actually target it and go after it. And all I see is autoimmune. Autoimmune is completely breaking down the cell-cell communication. So your lymphatic system cells, so forth, they can't actually talk to one another. So that's part of the picture. And I see autoimmune also as tissue toxicity. So the tissue in that location where it's being attacked or self-attacked, there's actually toxins in there, and it's not a self-attack. It's the body trying to get rid of something very noxious that's gotten into that tissue. And to idiot doctors, that's, oh, your body's attacking itself because it's stupid. It's like, no, the body is intelligent and brilliant and always is. And why it's going after that tissue is because it feels the need. It has to, because it would actually be more of a deleterious situation to allow that level of toxicity in the cells, rather than tear down the tissue and try to rebuild it itself. And I had many, many cases of these disorders, and they resolved very beautifully by detoxing the body and going after the particular situation. And you can find out with taking some time and asking some questions like MDs don't do, and ask the patient, what have you been exposed to? Oh, has it been from the MD, has it been from my poisoned needle? Oh, then it's mercury and aluminum and barium and all kinds of other trace minerals that, because they're contaminated on top of it. And so we'll just chelate those, and then you'll be better, if they could just admit that. But of course they can't. They can't admit that they're wrong or anything. So I've had a lot of allergies to trees and most plants, so I don't think I can eat mushrooms. All you can do is test it. I mean, you can do some muscle testing to see. You can just take a tongue test and see, have some quercetin and vitamin C on hand. If you do have a reaction, that'll help with your body's ability to overcome it. You don't know how you'll tolerate it. And anyway, if you have an allergy, then you fix the gut. So then your first step to have any type of allergy is fix your gut, make sure that's good, and then you can do some detoxes, some enemas, some homeopathic drainage, some particular isopathy, which is whatever the item is you're allergic to. You take a homeopathic version of that in a drainage sequence, and you get rid of your allergies. So don't worry, you just have a little bit more work to do before you can do the shrooms, all right? The magic shrooms. Do you earth to ground yourself at night? Well, what I have now, especially because spring is coming. So first of all, I used to have a bed where I had a grounding wire. I had a sheet of sort of metal, it's like a pliable metal, and a wire, and I grounded it in outside, and I stuck it in the ground. I used to do that for a while, but it was actually damaging my bed a little bit, so I removed that. And I'm on the ground, like in my house, so I'm very grounded here. And I've actually lined the whole floors with cork, which is really, really nice and very grounding. And then, you know, all it takes is a few minutes, just go outside. Even if it's snow, I'll go out with barefoot and just dump in the snow and walk around and go hee 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 for a minute and come back in. And I find that's very helpful. And you can also ground through touching trees and so forth. So if you go out for a walk and then just, you know, hug a tree, I know, tree hugger, but it helps. It takes that extra electricity, that frenetic electricity out from you and balances that. So just touching trees, because I have a really long cold climate here, so it's like, you know, you don't get the same level of grounding. Like I'm not going to the beach and laying on the ground for hours at a time, which is what I normally do in the warmer weather. I just found these sandals that they're grounding sandals. They have a little copper grommet in the base where the foot, the flat part of the foot sits. So that's your foot, and there's a little grommet here, and it's a grounding sandal. But I read the description and it said you can't go for long hikes and stuff on it. It's like, well, what's the point of that? Because I'm not going to wear a sandal I can't walk around with for a long period of time. What are your thoughts on making a tincture with it and DMSO and microdosing on a different level? I am glad you asked that question, because the first time I went, I'm buying raw mushrooms. Okay. I was like, I'm putting it with DMSO immediately. I'm going to be mixing this with DMSO for sure. Like guaranteed I am playing with this and DMSO. Okay. So once I do that and I take it and I make I'm like my own guinea pig and I make my scientific reports, I will let you know how that goes, because my sense is it's going to mean you need way less of the product to get the same effect, and it will probably reduce the chances of you, you know, adapting to it, right? Tolerance. That's my sense, because that's what DMSO is. One of the famous things it's for is it, you know, really helps you to reduce the amount of medicine that you would typically need to treat whatever you're treating, because you have greater access. And the synergy I'm excited about too, because you already get brain healing and tissue healing and recovery and antioxidant and anti-inflammatory and increased blood flow and all these things with DMSO. So imagine the two together. Like, I'm so excited. This is the stuff that turns me on, okay? You all can have your whatever porn or whatever you have, it excites you, but DMSO and psilocybin together, that's sex for me, okay? I'm so doing it. I get bad migraines, mind grains, yeah. Migraines, eating mushrooms. I have allergies to trees. So that's the same thing. So what I'm saying is rare liver disease, all these things. Dump the labels, whatever the doc quack told you you have, just take it in a little compartment, put it in a ball and throw it away. You have an imbalance in that organ system and you can heal that organ system, okay? So do coffee enemas if you have liver problems. That's one of the easiest and best ways to actually heal the liver. Allergic to cannabis. If you're allergic to anything, you have to feed the gut. You have to deal with the cell-to-cell communication in the body. All right. So, and you're grounding, that's good, and that's helping. So you already know some of it, but you got to detox the body if you already are in that state. Okay. Thanks for making that note. Someone's following along with notes. I gave my pal like 20 grams of dried ones I had. I tried to warn him, but he replied he had the constitution of a horse. So that's the one I read before. I'm 68 years old and still love doing shrooms. I'm a recovered single mom. Yeah, I'm in the midst of single momdom, and it's very difficult for sure. So I understand the need to recover. And good for you. And I'm glad you still do shrooms, because I'll probably be that old and still be doing shrooms too. Will it help bipolar or psychosis? Yes. However, again, depending on the level of psychosis and bipolar, like I had a woman in the store the other day, she's very far gone, extremely psychotic, dementia, can't follow my words very clear, although can answer my questions with some clarity. So she does still have some sense of herself, on a bunch of medications and thyroid medication. What else was she doing? Smoking cigarettes as well. I gave her a lecture about that as much as she could handle. And she's been, where her psychotic break came, and I know a lot of women out there are going to relate. Menopause. Menopause is the reward for being a very hardworking woman your whole life. Yes, kick in the arse. Happy hormones. Not. You're going to feel like a psycho. Hey, you worked so hard your whole life. Now feel like a lunatic. Thank you so much. That's a wonderful mechanism you have there. So it totally messes with your mind, right? So what happened to her is her progesterone was so low, already going into her reality, that by the time she hit menopause, she was already going through a lot of stress. The ovaries now stop working, and then the adrenals have to take over the role of communicating with the brain. And if you're already in adrenal fatigue, good luck with that. And she is a mess and really cracked, and went, of course, to stupid doctors, and they made it worse. They never addressed any of her issues, and they give her all these drugs. And I still sold her microdosing mushrooms, especially her. In fact, she was so unpinned, she actually kept calling the store over and over again. Her husband apologized and told me the backstory. And I told her on the phone, take it right now. Go take it right now. And I'm sure that I'm going to hear of the benefits of her doing the microdosing. I'm sure she's going to be able to cope better with the level of stress that she's experiencing. She's going to go back to the psychiatrist who's been poisoning her, and her husband's going to try to. I said, look, it hasn't been working for 15 years, okay? The meds aren't working for 15 years. I said, are you happy that your wife is so unpinned that she's calling my store, 4 or 5 times a day, and she's crying, saying there's no food in the house and asking for help and these sorts of things. And he says, no, obviously it's not working. Okay, so let's start weaning her off these things and get her mind back. Work with the mushrooms, work with the DMSO, get some vitamins back into her, some B vitamins I'm sure she's completely deficient on, right? So this is how you heal things. And again, I don't find it that particularly difficult. I was giving lion's mane and reishi to my pup. Oh, interesting. The reishi was supposed to help with high estrogen. Oh yeah, that's right. That is right. Thank you for bringing that up with and probably xenoestrogens as well. That's a great one. See, I use black cohosh as well for boosting natural progesterone. I mean, I have my NatPro natural progesterone yam cream, which works really good, but I also like to use other herbals as well, because again, I don't like to use just one thing. You're tweaking hormones, and you're bringing up the healthy hormones, and the hormones that help you think and help you feel grounded and not feel insane like estrogen does. And using different herbals that help balance that out is an excellent holistic approach. And magnesium, always in all things magnesium. I'm going to make a shirt, in all things magnesium. If nothing else, magnesium. You have to have magnesium, or else you're not going to detox your liver at all. And your liver is your master endocrine gland, and your liver does pretty much everything coming in and out the door. And if it can't work because it has a rate limiting step from magnesium, then you're going to be in trouble, right? And that's why I like topical, because you don't absorb it through the gut very well. Used to have many magic mushies around me, but they've built houses on the fields. You're funny. How long should someone stay on the protocol? Well, that depends. But for example, the caps that have 50 in it, this one, the 50 caps, I have a customer got that for him and his wife. So they're going to do 25 each, and they're going to take breaks in between. And then they'll reassess. How did I feel through that? How do I feel now? Do I want to continue with that? Do I want to wait a week or two, do another round, right? And I haven't even decided what I'm going to do myself. I'm still figuring out how long I want to use it for, probably a very long time, just saying. But it's up to you on what your goals are. I mean, you have anti-aging effects, then you want to hold on to those, right? You're welcome. Thank you. You're welcome. So I think I saw 5G being put on a tower on the highway in Massachusetts. Oh, man. So scary, man. Here in UK, it is legal to pick and eat them fresh. Interesting. But if you process them in any way, even drying them, then it has become an offense. LSD is controlled as a Class A drug under the Misuse of Drugs Where do you go? Misuse of Drugs Act. Okay. Is not available for medical use and is illegal to possess or supply. Maximum penalties are 7 years imprisonment and a fine for possession and life imprisonment and a fine for supply or production. And what I'd be interested to know about in the UK, that law is how often is it actually done? Like statistics, statistics of how often is being punished for doing a little bit for yourself rather than, distributing and all that kind of thing. So, but that's unfortunate. That sucks. That's pretty backwards, actually. And I hope, so then the question is, Canada is like, socialist and getting worse. So that's what confused me about this coming through the pike and being allowed. I'm like, what's the game here? Is this a testing ground? Are you trying to see? Is this like a massive experiment that they're doing on the population? Or what is this game? So the panic attack thing I talked about, the Psystabil by Picana. So PSY-STABIL. Amazing. What is that? Yes, I typed it by mouth. Is that good enough? I'll write it when I post it on BoobTube, okay? Yes, a panic attack gives you fight or flight response. Yeah, that was freaky. I didn't know that until I lived it. I just had to take Valium for anxiety just 5 minutes ago. Oh, man. And the other thing I do, if I do feel any stress, always, it's something that's happened or I'm trying to cope with something and I'm not feeling that great, then I always do sort of the worst case scenarios. And the worst case scenarios always got to come down to money or time, really. Oh, it's going to take this amount of time or it's going to cost this amount of money. And what? And I've been through so many things before that looked scary and I'm on the other side of them and I'm still here, right? So if you can have that perspective, to bring your anxiety down with your own talk therapy, like I've been through worse before, you're going to handle it just fine, and rather than going down the road of all the negative thinking of, oh, this bad thing could happen, this bad thing could happen. I go right to the end. I'm like, worst thing, well, I either die, I'm fine. Like, I know we're eternal, we're good. I either lose money, it's just money. I either lose some time. And then I'm like, so I can handle it. And so you need your thing that you talk yourself through. What is it called for the panic attack? So that's the Psystabil I mentioned. What's your code for the Brown's gas hydrogen purchase? Good question. I should know that. I actually have a link. And then I think it's just yummy something. I'll look it up again. I think the code is, yeah, I'll send it to you. It's yummy something for getting the discount. And I still haven't done that video. So I promised you so many things. I promised you the Brown's gas video. I promised you the polyvagal theory video, which I did all the research on already. Yeah, it's been really busy at the store and I've just hired 2 more people. I actually hired a registered practical nurse. That's pretty exciting and she wants to be a holistic practical nurse. So a doctor and a nurse team, sort of cute, eh? And she's young and she wants to learn all the herbal stuff and I'm going to get her making tinctures and all kinds of things. And then I hired a photography artist who does wildlife photography and I've never seen wildlife photography like this, ever. I still can't get over it, honestly, how talented this guy is. So I'm going to encourage him to get some massive prints up and going to sell those through the store too, because it's just really beautiful, beautiful stuff. And he's helping me do everything here. So it's good. I believe mine's caused by jaw injury. Oh, wow. DMSO, you got an injury, use DMSO, use it topically and use it internally. My book, by the way, Healing with DMSO by Amanda Vollmer. Thank you very much. It's coming out in March. Like, what happened? So they're like hurrying the hell up. So it's apparently going to be next month. Isn't that freaky? Yeah. So I think the release date was supposed to be April. That's what they're telling me. And now they're changing all the dates because when you go to Amazon and Simon & Schuster and Chapters Indigo and all these places, they took the date off and they're putting in apparently the new date, which between March and early April. So that means it's going to print like this second. Like right now, I could probably hear it. It's like printing right now. So, you know, and the thing is, I wanted to say is I wrote a huge book and they whittled it down to half. So there's so much information that I really wanted to be in that book that's not in that book. So I'm going to do other books with that information. So there's going to be like probably topic books like DMSO and cancer, DMSO and Down syndrome, DMSO and UTIs, DMSO and jock itch. I don't know, like whatever topic I want to go with. What I cut out. I couldn't do a lot of stuff that was really invasive. I couldn't talk about things putting it up your wazooie, putting it up your bum. Couldn't talk about it in the book. I wasn't allowed for liability purposes. I begged a lot of things. I'm like, no, you don't put that in, I'm walking away. So at least we can put it in some orifices. But I'll have to, you know, do lots of different mini books for some of the different topics. I bought a Brown's gas hydro machine that can breathe through the nose. Well, that's when I have the HHO, the AquaCure machine. So my hair does look cute. Would you stop? I would be interested in your input on iodine. Also, you need it. There you go. I take it every day. Iodine, 1 drop every day. I use one by Biotics because it's not yellow and doesn't stain. It doesn't stink, and I don't like the taste of iodine. And you can eat seaweed. Why don't you eat seaweed? Do you like seaweed? I do. You know, you can take seaweed, take a chunk off, and throw it in all your cooking, and then you're getting tons of minerals through seaweed. So use it. Even if you don't like seaweed, you can still cook with it and even take the chunk out, and all the minerals have gone to the food, and you don't have to worry about the mushy bit if you don't like that. Okay. Raymond Stein has the white, clean-looking unit. Okay, Raymond Stein. All right, EMFs causing a lot of depression, anxiety. That's what I was saying, right? With EMFs, and I am going to do also a video about different methods how to offset some of the EMF stuff and having good electromagnetic hygiene, proper hygiene, do's and don'ts, right? Because we're going to see so much more sensitivity. I'm telling you, it's already happening. People who are sensitive to it, the body's going to keep saying no, and that's what increases the sensitivity. It's telling you enough, and that gets higher and louder as you keep bombarding the body. So, you know, turning off your router at night, unplugging, not even reducing your dirty electricity, but unplugging your appliances before you sleep. Don't have anything around your field, around your head, around your bed. Keep your bedroom pure. You can make copper pyramids over the bed or a little Faraday cage over the bed. At least you can get an escape from it while you sleep. People who sleep with their cell phones on their bodies or under their pillow and stuff, I don't understand how you're okay with that. You know, I was 26. I was 26 when I found out about the BioPro chip. And that was the first time I could have a cell phone when I was 26 because I couldn't stand them. Like if someone would hand me a cell phone here, talk to so-and-so, I'd be like, ow, 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 ow. And it was a flip phone. So yes, it did actually look like that. Ow, ow, ow. And like couldn't wait to get off the thing. And I get a headache afterward. I did not feel well. I knew they were bad back then. And then I found the BioPro chip because I felt like, well, it's happening. The cell phone thing, it's happening. So I'm either getting with the program or I'm going to be an outcast and not learn to do this tech. So I figured if I at least had a mechanism or device to help my body recognize it so that it wasn't causing so much strife in me. And I did. I bought it and it changed everything. It worked because I was not bothered by it anymore after putting the chips. So I put on chips on everything. I put them on my computers, I put on everything. And I still have all these kinds of gadgets and things to this day on all my computers. Even certain frequencies from certain pictures can do it, can change the way that the fields are bouncing and the cacophony of it. But I said to the individual who was in my store today, I said, look, back 10 years ago or more, Dr. George Carlo wrote about the background radiation of Toronto. He's talking about all the background radiation in all the major cities. And he spoke about Toronto. Obviously, I'm close enough major city as Toronto. And he said the background radiation already was above the legal standard of health of where it should be. So it was already in the red zone of where it should have been. And we've long surpassed it. And now you got multiple gadgets, multiple Wi-Fi crossing all over the place, all kinds of metal everywhere, metal in people from vaccines, from chemtrail fallout, all that stuff, and whatever God knows they're putting in our GMO food, right? Like pesticides. So what's that? Where it's like microwaving us, right? And people still use an actual microwave. I found that out too. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna put that in the microwave. I'm like, oh yeah, microwaves. I threw up my TV and my microwave like 12, 15 years ago or so. Just not in my life. So I forget about them, you know, that people do that. That they just nuke their food like that sometimes, right? So no, stop using things that are abusing your body. You're only going to have so much tolerance. And if you lose your tolerance, you're done. And so unplug your stuff. I bought this computer because my last computer, I didn't have a plug-in to go wireless. So now I'm off wireless. I'm just in the fiber is plugged right into the modem. Okay, so these types of things, like where you can affect it. Use a Faraday cage if you have to. Apparently tin, not aluminum. So you know the aluminum foil hat joke that everybody talks about. They say, actually aluminum was tin. It used to be tin foil, remember? And then they changed it to aluminum. Well, tin actually does reflect it away. True tin, the element of tin. But the element of aluminum is the opposite. It's magnet. It brings it to you. And so you don't want to use aluminum. I'm a real conspiracy theorist, as I know the difference between aluminum and tin. So you don't want to wrap your smart meter in aluminum, okay? That's what my point is. You would use tin if you have access to it. I use a shit ton of crystals, that's for sure, all over my smart meters, all organite and crystals, the whole thing, and a Faraday cage on the outside of it. That's what mine looks like. And then I saw there's all new products. There's a million products. Just start searching. You will find them. I haven't tested them all out or anything, but there was one, it was a hat. It was a silver lined hat. And they were saying that it protects your head from EMF using silver. And I also take silver every day orally. And what protects from radiation the most? Let's guess. It's Amanda's favorite substance on the earth. What's that? Did you say DMSO? You did. You're so smart. You're learning. DMSO protects you from radiation damage, but you got to take it first. It doesn't heal it as well, but it prevents problems. So really, we should be dousing ourselves with DMSO pretty much daily, which I do because I have 13 products with DMSO in it right now. Lots of creams and so forth, and you can put it in a lotion on your body, and you can ingest 1 teaspoon, 5 ounces of water or juice a day. And if you have the breath, you can spray your mouth with a little bit of food grade hydrogen peroxide, 1.5%, and that'll take it back a notch so you don't scare everybody. And you can also use natural winter green gum to deal with any bad breath. But I'll do a whole thing on that eventually, because I mean, what if 5G comes to your area or is in your area? Like if that happened to me, I would be running away. Like I'd be selling my house, moving away. I'm not going to subject myself to it. There's no way. Like I will do whatever's necessary. Like when I was pregnant in Toronto, I moved to an area that does not fluoridate its water on purpose so that I wasn't exposing my child to it ever, right? Those are the kinds of decisions I make. I'm not putting my child in school, not because of the vaccine issue, because in Ontario, we have exemption forms. You can just sign it and tell them to go shove it. But it's because the school is not teaching my child anything of value. So why would I indoctrinate my own child in a system that is brainwashing it to be a slave? It doesn't make any sense. So I'm not going to go because of the vaccine issue. I don't want to go and have to undo all the programming. It's way more work. So, these are the things we have to really make some serious decisions about and what's important for you. For me, 5G is a deal breaker. It's a deal breaker. I'm not exposing myself to it. Even if it's in the fiber optics up here, I don't think I'm going to want to stick around. I'm going to get further into the bush. I came up from Toronto into the bush, and now I'm going deeper into the bush because I don't really want anything to do with any of these things. And no one's going to build 5G towers on my 10 or 15 or 100 acre plot of land. And I'm definitely not going to invite it. You can come visit me, stay with me. Wait till September to pick them. I can't believe you can eat them fresh and not dried. What lawmakers are nuts. They're nuts. Really. Hi, Mimi. Stay away from my mushrooms. So the number of young ones are really suffering with it. It's an epidemic level. Tapping. Oh yeah, tapping. Thank you for bringing up tapping, because emotional freedom technique and tapping, it works. Okay, you're affecting your neurological system, and really, there's these points here. There's ear points and top of the clavicle, back of the hand, right, and under the armpit. And you just start, and there's ones at the top of the head as well. So you can sort of do a cascade. And what you do, and this is what I love about EFT, because it's not a new agey, just avoid your discomfort thing. It's an owning your caca thing, where you're like, I bloody well hate what's going on right now. This really sucks. I can't fucking stand it. Whatever. And you own it. You take the thing that you're dealing with, and then you go, and I'm safe and everything's good and I'm happy and I love my life and my cat's really cute and I really like talking to everybody on Facebook, right? And you're rewiring your network in your brain that way. And it works because you're using specific acupressure points to do it. And I do like it. And it can help you in the moment if you forgot your microdosing mushrooms that day, or you're in a high electromagnetic field and you're having a really hard time coping. You can just run to the bathroom and do some quick tapping and some deep nostril breathing, which everyone forgets, like the simple stuff, like touch a tree to ground, deep breathing, tapping, stuff that's free. So like deep, long diaphragmatic breathing, because and I say this to people who have digestive problems, I'm like, before you're going to eat, you're going to stop and breathe and tell your mind that you're safe. I'm safe right now. Everything is safe right now. I feel secure and safe right now. Breathing slowly, because if you're in a rush or you're running from the tiger or whatever, you're breathing fast because you got to get rapid oxygen to your muscles to run away. But when you're relaxed, you slow breathe because you don't need to do that. You're in a relaxed, slow breath. And that tells your body you're relaxed, you're chill, everything's fine, the tiger's not chasing you, and you can then digest and assimilate your food, right? Why do you think so many people have gut problems? Because they're anxious. And when you're anxious, you can't digest. So you have to actively calm down. Calm down. That's what you have to do. It's just that simple. Just calm down. Yeah, I feel sorry for the babes. Is it legal to sell them in Canada? Yes. Yeah. This is what I'm talking about. I can't get over this, honestly. Yeah, this is a really cool article by the Beckley Foundation, Psychedelic Research Changing Minds. And it's got a lot of cool articles at this Beckley Foundation. It's, oh, someone's talking about me. Amanda writes in The Independent. No, it's not me. The psychedelic renaissance and the importance of drug policy reforms. They're talking about some reform in here. Roadmaps to regulation, MDMA. They're going to regulate MDMA. Okay, something must have happened in the timeline. The timeline must have switched again. Something happened. Like, seriously. That's all I can consider, is like some miraculous timeline switch must have happened. The reptilians are just squirming in their seats. DMT brain imaging. They have LSD microdosing research. They have the brain on LSD revealed, what it looks like. They have a bunch of bloggers that are talking about all these things. Changes on the way. Yes. MDMA, work in Jamaica. I can say it's a new era. And of course, all these links, there's a guide to microdosing for anxiety on allure.com. There's a little story there. And legalities it discusses in there as well. So right now, it's in the U.S. It's a Schedule 1 drug, so it's not allowed. But the mushrooms themselves are actually not scheduled. Okay, did you know that? So the derivative, sorry, I have something in my eye. The derivative is a class 1. So psilocybin and psilocin, so psilocin, psilocybin, those two extracts, they're class 1 drugs. But the mushrooms themselves, these are not. Okay. So if you extract it, it's a class 1. It's kind of a little bit of a gray area, don't you think? Unlike LSD, psilocybin is currently being studied for therapeutic purposes. According to the third wave, regulatory bodies like the Drug Enforcement Agent and the Food and Drug Administration have loosened rules ever so slightly about using psilocybin in controlled research trials. So it's ongoing, and you know it's on its way to legalization when this happens. So they're all about it. So it's happening. It's amazing. Okay. Lots of things on how to dose, lots of stories on how to dose. Like it's I could go search 1,000 articles on this now. How is this happening? Like I said, timeline. All right, so a few more questions and then I'll let you go, because I think it's Saturday night. It is, right? It's all a blur to me. It's all just the same day for me. I'm going through some crisis, but I believe in me. Well, we're all going through some level of crisis, really. I've never ever had so many conversations with people having a hard time. I use a strap that is for repairing PCs and wire it to the earth in the electric socket. Okay, so grounding your stuff. I actually do have grounding mats. I haven't put them on the website yet. I'm going to wait till I get the new website. Now that I have the new computer that's a larger monitor, so I can do I can do my old website and then the new one, so I can get everything put over there. That's why I needed the new computer. I'll put the grounding mats on. I have some grounding mats for sale in the store. People come in to get it, but I didn't put it on the web. I don't think I put it on the website. I probably should check that. But on the website again is yummymummyemporium.ca, and that's the new fancy one. And yummymummyemporium.org is the organic one, is the first one. I have a fig tree or two in my house. I can ground with them even though they aren't in the ground. How so? Oh yeah, and I wrote, what was it the other day? I said, I found my lover, and he's a mushroom person, saying, I bet he's a fun guy. It's a cheesy joke, but it's really funny. What would you recommend for liver flush? I would recommend you watch my videos on how to do liver detoxes. You know, that's why I do the videos. However, coffee enemas, homeopathic Picana apohepat to drain intracellular toxins, which you should use in conjunction with Renalix, also by Picana, because they work together with the kidneys, because they're buddies, and castor oil packs over the liver 3 times a week, 20 minutes. And you can reuse the castor oil on the flannel, and you can go to my website and you go under castor oil, where I have hexane-free castor oil available. Then you can learn how to do castor oil packs. Usually that's where I start. And then digestive support, intermittent fasting. Give it a break. Give the organs a break, Mon. They're working constantly for you. And I had this theory the other day where I have this feeling, and I may have mentioned it, I don't know, but that when people have breathing problems in their sleep and they stop breathing temporarily, that, like sleep apnea, I actually think that's a lung reset. I think there's something happening there where the body's trying to rest an organ that's not really restable, but it has to. So it's stopping things for just as long as it possibly can before you die to try to reset do some tissue shuffling, and which makes sense to me, because why would the body shut down a function? It's either in severe deficiency, which could be the case, but usually it's trying to fix something. Okay, vitamin B, D, magnesium. I'm typing as you're saying it. GABA's awesome. GABA helps if you can't sleep. You take magnesium and GABA, maybe melatonin. Sometimes you don't need it, but those three, and see how you do. And then sometimes you have to do a B multi in the day because that's going to keep you up if you do it at night, but it'll help you sleep that night. Clive DeCarl did a good video on Brown's gas. Oh, he did. All right. That's cool. Thank you. Do you ever do bioresonance? I do. Oh, I have a Rife machine. I do stuff like that all the time. I do PEMF on myself. I do put the fingernail clippings in the Rife machine, send myself frequencies all the time. Yeah, I mean, sure. That's one of the best ways, I think, as far as protecting ourselves from this EMF ridiculousness. Is DMSO related to organic sulfur of pine? Well, it's from trees, so of course it's related. Organic sulfur is usually called MSM. So unless you're talking about gum turpentine, which is from pine, and it's a different substance of the tree. With comfrey for bone injuries, I had comfrey cream I use for back. Yeah, I have comfrey in one of my skin lotions that works really well. It's the jewelweed itch me not for itchy stuff. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I hear all the time people giving young children an iPad and stuff. I know. Oh, it freaks me out too. I mean, the whole tech in the baby's hands, a baby playing with some mother's phone and stuff. It's just terrible. My daughter didn't touch a thing of it till she was 5. It was 5 where we got a tablet where she was allowed to watch like Peppa Pig and a couple things on it. That was it. But 5 before she watched TV, before she exposed to anything, she had to be at least 5. Because I read some stuff that said their brain is accepting, is not going to get that flicker and not, be damaged if it's 5 or later. Well, actually, I think they said 4 something, but I just take it a little longer, do it at 5. So I have the scalar energy chip on the back of my phone to absorb US. Yeah, some of them work really well. I have a couple of things on my, I have shungite chip on mine, and one of these little buttons, these little blocker buttons. It's not really a blocker. What it actually, you don't really want, you're not going to block because you want a signal, so you're not going to block. So what you want is something that adds on to the signal that informs the body that it's cool. Like, don't freak out. This is fine. Don't react, and won't break the DNA, right? So I think if you've got a combo of DMSO in your system pretty regularly, and you have some sense of helping the body assimilate or understand it or adapt to it, because there's a few ways you can either say no or you can allow the body to adapt, right? One of the two ways. So that's what the BioPro chip did. Check out that link for portable 5G portable protection. Okay, got my house in tin. Yep, that's what you do. Actually, I have a friend who built her house of concrete, and she used like lime washes and stuff, and you have to wire in the signal. No EMF gets into that house. Like, it's a fortress. It won't get through the walls. Like, her walls are super thick, and she can run her fireplace for a short amount of time and the heat just recirculates, and she hardly uses any wood because it's so well insulated. It's up here in the north, right? So yeah, she just built her house recently, and there's no EMF fields there. First of all, she lives on 100 acres, so that's not happening anyway. But anyway, she has a wired-in connection when she needs to use the internet. So I love chembusters. I've been wanting to build a chembuster forever, literally. I bought the materials to make a chembuster over 10 years ago. I have them in my garage. I have the metal, I have the crystals, I have the copper, I have the bucket, I have everything. I just couldn't find somebody because I don't have a jig. Okay, I can't figure out how to make you have to make the little slip plate with the holes for the copper to go in so everything stabilizes before you pour the resin in. You think I can find somebody to do that for me? No, not in 10 years. So if you know anyone who will do that for me, I would love to have a chembuster, huge orgonite tower in my backyard. I've been wanting that. It's like a dream for me to have that. And really to test it, to see if they're hosing us that day and the haze comes, can I clear it? Can I use that to clear it? Oh my gosh, this fat is really fantastic. We all should have one of those. Honey is good for DMSO breath. Oh, great. I don't think I knew that. Did I know that? I don't think I remember the honey. I didn't find the honey. So you just eat honey? You suck on honey? Cool. If you can find that study for me, that'd be great. This is the crazy thing. When I start going into the DMSO research, there is a ton of information. There's like, it's one of the most studied things. That's what's amazing about the fact that we're so ignorant about it. Like, it was studied up and down. Like, I'd be a lifetime reading everything. It's insane. Fluoride is so bad. Yes, I know. LED's not good either, obviously. I had, in this lamp here, I had an LED bulb. And all of a sudden, I started getting weird thoughts and really depressed. And I could not figure it out. It just came out of the blue light. And I realized this is damn bulb. So I put a regular incandescent back in it, totally cleared it up. So, and I was so excited when LEDs came out. I really was. I really thought it was going to be like beneficial. Now, I will only use LEDs for the most part, other than we're not using our computers. I mean, we can't change that out. But I'll use it in my house if it's high up, because it has to affect your field directly for that impact. So it has to be quite close to you. So look, tablets and things with LEDs really close to the face. Get it bigger if you have to and move it further away, but it shouldn't be close to you, because then it's negatively affecting your body. What about MMS? What about it? It's awesome. It works. It's MMS, or chlorine dioxide solution, which I make, is the main thing that it's helping you to do is to take the place of some of the bacterial, fungal lineages that are trying to break down dead, dying, damaged tissue, and it will do the job instead. So it will apoptose the dead, dying, damaged tissue without you requiring the level of microbial inflammation and attack and so forth that your own body cells are doing to break down the damaged tissue. So it will clear up the infection and get rid of the tissue in a very lovely manner. So you don't have to go through that whole issue. And it also will help. See, cancer is when your bacterial lineages can't get to the tumor site to break it down. The fungus often will go around it and try to break it down, but it's a very difficult process if the mechanism is confusing your microbes to think that it's self, because it's trying to break down broken dead tissue, but it's also giving a signal like it's not supposed to do that. So you're really confusing the life forms that are trying to break it down. So if you give chlorine dioxide solution, give MMS, it doesn't care. If the tissue is deficient, it will put it into apoptosis. It will break it down. It's an oxygenator. It oxygenates the tissues. When you add oxygen, if you take hydrogen peroxide, it's strong on your skin, it oxygenates it. What happens? It sloughs off the skin. It breaks the skin down, right? So that's what it's doing inside your body in the correct dosage. It's assisting the body to be gone. And it also adds enough of a electron activity or electrical impulse that it assists with cell communication as well. So it's amazing. It's amazing. What else can I say? I've done a few videos on it. I will always promote it. I will always make it. And it's one of those things. Now, as far as EMFs, I'm not sure its role. I know that you can put a few drops of DMSO in your MMS and it will enhance it. So because it'll help the tissue open so that the MMS can get through, right? Yeah. MMS. Learn about it. It's not bleach. Okay, now that we've said that. It's hard to purchase a lot of fruits that aren't already manipulated. So one day we will be free. Sometimes I think the whole point of this existence is to go through strife. It has to be. Either we're in a soft hell. I said that to my friend who was in here today. We're either in a soft hell, like we've been really bad, and we're in gentle hell, like not the bad fire and brimstone hell, we're just in like soft hell. Or we're meant to overcome things that are challenging, because somehow that's important to us on some level. So if you put your perspectives like that, it can be very handy in dealing with anxiety and reminding yourself to laugh and at all the ridiculousness of it, right? And I still can't even believe that people actually think that when they die, that's it. I can't get that. I can't figure that out. How people can think that that's it. It's over. If I go into that thought, it's one of those. I get an X, meaning it's like that's an impossible possibility. You can't not exist. It's impossible. You just transform, and that's how energy works anyway. It just moves from one thing to another. It cannot be created or destroyed. That's a fundamental principle. So you can't be nothingness. You have a consciousness. So there's going to be some level of consciousness going forward. So the fact that people are so short-sighted and that they can't fathom the other realities that we go into, I think that's where the mushrooms can really help some of these people understand that we're eternal beings. My dogs have bad skin and suffer with fleas and skin allergies. I put edible yeast in their food occasionally and use diatomaceous earth and coconut oil, even olive oil in their skin. Would DMSO and magnesium oil help their skin heal? Well, I'm assuming that the flea situation is finished now and you've got that under control and there's no worms and other problems. Then I would suggest, I'd like the olive oil. If you do coconut oil, always mix it with another oil. Coconut oil is extremely drying to the skin on its own unless you're already deeply moisturized, because it's a barrier. So coconut actually removes oils. I make a soap with coconut oil in it, for example. That's a mechanic soap, because it'll take grease off of everything. It takes the oils off. It strips the oils right out. It's a drying substance, coconut oil. Everyone thinks it's some sort of moisturizer. No, it's a barrier though. So if you have olive oil underneath and then you put coconut with it, the coconut oil will sit on top, the olive oil underneath, and you'll get moisturizing. You'll get protection from chapping and chafing from, say, wind or other conditions, right? So it's good for that. That's why it's good for diaper rashes when you mix it with something like a calendula or whatever, like in my diaper rash cream, right? There's a bit of a barrier there, so it's protecting against the wetness, but you still need to moisturize the skin underneath. So that would be good for your dog's skin. I would say a calendula oil with a little bit of a coconut oil. That's what I would go for. And you could put the calendula oil that I make is extracted into olive oil anyway. So you could blend something like that. And that would be great to help. And you could put just a tinge of DMSO in, say like a 10% or 20%. And that would be totally, work, and it wouldn't be too aggravating to their skin. The 30% is the sweet zone for anti-inflammatory. So if you want to deal with something that's inflamed, then you use a 30% DMSO, because that's the correct percentage for anti-inflammatory. Breathe in through nose, hold, then exhale through mouth. I don't know, there's lots. There's sensors in your nose, and there's a lot of blood flow through your nose. So I usually like to go in and out through the nose and focus on the nose. But that's me. The law was recently changed to psychoactive substances that could include bananas and other foods. It's so stupid. I don't know what to say with some of these dumb laws, honestly. I mean, what's happening in Connecticut's pretty exciting. Basically spending all night, in council saying, this isn't happening. You're not taking away our exemptions, forget it, right? We have to keep doing that with all of these things, with EMFs, 5G, these stupid laws. That we need to be at council all the time and like, no, you're not doing this. Sorry. Do you know why? You're just doing what your handlers are telling you. Do you understand why you're doing that thing? Do you understand the long-term implications of your decisions, right? Do you understand that when you say that my kid can't go to school, what that means for our family in the long run? Well, I'll tell you all the details of that. I've bought your creams. Are they all exposed to 432 hertz? Yes. The facelift in jar was really helpful in stopping the itchiness of my skin eczema or shin eczema. Oh, good. I mean, I make an eczema lotion specifically for that. That works really well. And yes, I tune everything to 432 hertz. After it's in I've emulsed it, everything's in the emulsion stage, then I tune the whole thing. And I do intentions. So the intentions are, I envision what it is, and thank you for, helping these people with their conditions and helping them come to realization and help them to lift their spirits. And, it doesn't take much just to put those things into what you do, right? And it changes the vibration. It does. Your words matter. Everything is a frequency, right? Jim Humble stuff, chlorine dioxide. Yes, Jim Humble is the guy who figured out it cured malaria. MMS and MS2, like them both good. Yes, the Bio Pro chip is what I used for my phone before, but now I use a shungite chip, and I can't remember the name of the other one that I have on it. It's another company, like similar to that one. I want the Tin Man suit from the Wizard of Oz. Okay, but the only thing is, then they put like aluminum paint all over him and he died from it. So you don't want to be exactly like the Tin Man from the Wizard of Oz, because he died because of that role. Okay, so any input on the NSA, NASA, fraud agencies? Oil of oregano. Oil of oregano, I'm getting a new one. That's more tall. I don't feel well on oil of oregano. I think it's too strong for me. So I bought another one. It's called gentle oregano. It's like a oregano light. So you're not like, I smell like pizza all day. It's not a really great smell for most people. So I'm just bringing in a new oregano, and we'll test that one out. I do like oregano oil though. Yes, so you have to be a club member to get my MMS, just so you know. So you have to shoot me an email if that's what you're into. I have a salt lamp on permanent and use an oven bulb so the bulb lasts longer. Oh, that's a great idea. I didn't even think about that. An oven bulb for your salt lamp. Brilliant. That's brilliant. I use a chandelier bulb, and I still find they last pretty good time, but I should test that oven light bulb. You smart. My mom has a meningioma non-cancer tumor at the top of her spine, and the same side her cordless phone is feet from her head. What a coinky dink. And I could treat it, but she's old-fashioned and trusts the doctors, even though they all the time, poor victims, they don't even know what they're doing, right? And I have another client, and her poor grandma, just tortured. These doctors just tortured her, and she still goes to them, and she still takes their medicines, and she still says what they do. It's like brainwashing is so deep. It's so sad. These are our elders. We need our elders, and they're just it's like eldercide. It's just whole scale murder, and they line up for it, and they respect the doctors, and they'll say whatever you tell me to do, doctor, I'll do. And people even say that to me. They'll say, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And it's like, okay, I will, but I want you to understand why you're doing it. And I want you to learn how to do it right. And then I want you to take it from here. Like, I'm giving you skill sets for life that you can do for all kinds of things. So just it's the training. It's like the brainwashing to rely on somebody else rather than look to your own wisdom and knowledge and intuition and do your own research and blah blah blah, right? Oh man, so. Yeah, it's not moisturizing. Coconut oil is not moisturizing. Okay, barrier. Think of it. Do you have a tip for helping kids swallow pills? My son doesn't have his chewable vitamin C currently, and he can't seem to swallow a pill. If you don't swallow pills, then you don't give them pills. You either open up capsules into applesauce that's unsweetened, or some sort of juice or beverage or smoothie or something, or you get it in a liquid or a powder and you dissolve it into a water. Like I have a vitamin C that I dissolve into water for my daughter. She loves it. She actually gets it herself. And my daughter likes to swallow pills. She thinks it's a challenge. So she'll do it. And, oh, that's a big one. Oh, let me try that. She's like 8. She's like, let me try it and see if I can swallow that. Fine. So I have a different situation on my hands, but there's a really good company out of the States, which no longer is carried in Canada because Health Canada are a bunch of monkeys, and we lose really good stuff because of their retarded policies. But anyway, they're called Kirkman, and they're a hypoallergenic line of supplements that are designed specifically for sensitive children, whether they're autistic, ADD, have allergies, whatever. And they're all pure, hypoallergenic, and designed for kids. So they're all the right doses. And most of them, or a lot of them, are in either meltable sublinguals or liquids or powders. So I would look into that and see if they've got what you're looking for in that way. So yes, doing detox baths are also good. And like I did my post yesterday, doing sweats, right? Fever baths, getting your temperature up. That's one of the best things to deal with cancer and preventing cancer, is to put your body into a state of a temporary fever, because that's going to mobilize the white blood cells, and that's going to get cell-cell communication going, get your blood moving. Exercise I already mentioned, but this is like a different level of exercise because there's different proteins involved, and there's a lot of science around it. As I posted, you can look on my Facebook page for that. It's I should do it. I have my Yummy Mummy Facebook page, Yummy Mummy Emporium and Apothecary, so you can find that on Facebook. I have my personal page, and way back when I had a company, my first clinic was called Great Central Sun. And so instead of putting my name as the Facebook, URL, I have it as Great Central Sun. So people put my name in and try to find me, and they can't. They have to do Great Central Sun Facebook to find my personal page. So that's what that is. And they won't let me change it. They won't let me change the spelling of my name, which I changed like 15 years ago when I was in Costa Rica. I added an H to my name. They won't let me, because I was attacked by pro-vax trolls, and they kicked me off of Facebook, and I had to fight my way back in, and they made me like prove my name with all my personal documents and stuff to get my account back, and they'll never let me change my name again. Oh boy. What is the best combination of oils or single one for very dry skin? Any foods to help moisturize from the inside? Yeah, I mean, first of all, if you have very dry skin, how much water you're drinking, because most people aren't drinking enough of it. So there's that. And then they're eating foods that are drying, like breads and stuff that's taking water out of the system, or foods that are really hard to digest. So there's that. And then omega-3 fatty acids are very helpful for dry skin. Often people are deficient in that. Vitamin C is essential for skin function and integrity. Iodine as well. And some of the fat-soluble vitamins are also important, but that's usually where I start. Magnesium, always magnesium. It's always going to be a magnesium. I shouldn't even have to say it at this point. I should already be knowing. The answer is always going to be magnesium. And then I have, various creams and concoctions that help to drive the moisture deeper into under layers. And like my facelift in a jar, for example, with DMSO in it, it actually helps rebuild collagen in the skin, because it's helping that fat layer underneath, because now all the goodies in the product can get into deeper layers of the skin, because you're not just treating the superficial epidermis, you're going deeper in, right? You guys have a lot of questions today. Put the pills in an M&M sweet packet without the sweets. Oh, I could literally talk nonstop forever until my voice became hoarse, which could happen any moment, because I don't know why I'm wired like this, but I am. So I love your Clove Pure Skin Lotion. It smells amazing. The Clove Pure Relief is one of my fungal creams. I mean, it's helpful for fungal stuff. I have a far infrared sauna that's also really helpful. And I learned that you can have EMF exposure in the far infrared if you have a lot of screws and stuff in it. So when I bought my saunas back when I had my clinic, I bought a screw. It was a magnet that held everything together. There were no actual screw bases in there, which was interesting. And that helps your lymphatic system. Somebody asked me to do a video on how to heal the lymphatic system, and that's my injury, is lymphatic. So I know that one pretty well. So I will definitely do a video on how to detox and heal and support the lymphatic system when I put it on the list. Is there a vitamin you can take when you go on the airplane for EMF? The vitamin is DMSO. You take DMSO. If you're going for an x-ray, you take DMSO beforehand. If you're going in an airplane, you drink DMSO beforehand. If you're going for any type of radiation, anything, you put DMSO in your body first. That's just what you do. That's the best prevention. That will stop your DNA from breaking from the radiation. That's really what you're after. Okay. What's about external best moisturizer? Combo, shea butter. I use always a combo of shea butter, coconut oil sometimes, cacao butter, and olive oil. That's typically the top best, and then I add special oils depending on what I'm doing. Botanical extracts in the oils. I have special oils like flaxseed oil, like black cumin seed oil. I have coriander oil on my website, which is gorgeous. There's tons. There's grapeseed oil. They're all deeply moisturizing and supportive to the skin, and they all have different levels of fats in there. So it's really dependent on what you're after, what your goals are for moisturizing in your skin type. So, but most of those are non-comedogenic, so they won't form zits. You don't want zits, and that's why I like the facelift in a jar, because it doesn't cause zits. If you get any expression from any of my products, then you need to have that expression. It's healing the skin and getting rid of stuff. Because I told you, I think, the story when I first made my facelift in a jar, and I put it all over my face and I put it on my neck, and then over my parathyroid gland, the top one, I got a zit there, and I never get anything on my neck. Like, I know my neck is just svelts. No, I really never get anything on my neck ever. And I'm like, what? And I just, was like picking at it, and all this gross curd like stuff came out, and it took 3 days for all this material to come out. And I was like, this is crazy. I just kept putting more DMSO on it and kept doing it, and it was like healing my thyroid. I swear, it was getting rid of some toxic matter that couldn't get out from my parathyroid. Yeah. And then it stopped draining, and it crusted over, and it healed beautifully, no scar or anything. I just kept putting the DMSO on. And so DMSO will help your skin express any toxins. This time of year, skin is dry and itchy. If it's itchy, my jewel weed salve will stop itch and moisturize. It's got plantain as well in it. It's got comfrey in it. It's a beautiful little salve. It'll take care of that real quick. Or you could use my eczema lotion. Again, really moisturizing and soothing to any kind of dry, itchy skin. Best way and dosage of DMSO daily. That'll be in the book. Because there's lots of different ways to dose for all kinds of conditions. And that's what the book focuses on. Okay. Oh man, it's in the book. Get the book. You can pre-order the book now if you're going to forget. So you can go to the major booksellers and, pre-order it. Healing with DMSO. Amanda Vollmer. Yes, it's a German. Okay, I got to go to bed or something. Probably have a bath. And anyway, I hope you have a really nice rest of the evening. I really thank you for joining me. And my website again, yummymummyemporium.ca or .org, or there's probably a few others that I bought. I can't remember. DMSO, magnesium, EMF protectors, say no to 5G, say no to vaccines, be smart, right? And microdose mushrooms, like I'm going to maybe do this weekend, maybe tomorrow. Might try, I don't know, I'm thinking about Golden Teacher. What do you think? Golden Teacher seems apropos. Hey, Amanda, what's in your tea? Well, let me tell you. Yes, it will be on Kindle. And you can get, if you don't like the paper part, I just love the whole idea that the irony, would it be ironic if that I'm written on paper, the DMSO book on paper, since it comes from the pulp and paper industry? I think that's funny. So Mimi and I are going to go cuddle now. And I'll share this on BoobTube soon, so that'll be there with some of the links I showed you. I think I showed them all. And it wasn't that much, right? So we're good. All right, well, bye for now, and be good, and say no to, laws that are corrupt, because if we don't say no now, we're going to lose our rights to say no soon enough. Okay, bye for now. Ciao. Mwah, love you. Bye for now. I love you. Yeah.